that truth.
He hasn't spoken a word.
Hello, creeps. It's your old pal, the Crypt Keeper. And you are now tuned in to my good fiends at Talks from the Crypt, the most gruesome podcast in the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 13th episode of Talks from the Crypt. And who better to have in the studio than Kane Hodder?
Hey, I am very happy to be here. Heard great things about the show, so let's get going.
That's incredible. I'm happy to hear that you heard great things.
I really have.
Let's
and
rack up.
People that know me know I don't say shit unless I feel it. So I'm not condescending and give people compliments unless I mean it. So not that is any big deal, but that's just me.
Yeah, and I'll cheers to that.
This is a shot of bourbon. No specific brand yet because I think somebody should sponsor his show, a bourbon company, and then I'll come back and we'll do some more. But yes, this is real bourbon. It's not fucking iced tea or some shit that people like to fake, which Aloisi did. But
it's not movie bourbon.
No.
Down the gullet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We often do shots of bourbon and tequila at the table at a convention with fans and stuff, and probably not wise.
Yeah,
but people love it.
Why do you say not wise?
I don't know. If somebody fucking crashed on the way home or something, they could blame me because I served them. Technically, I don't know, but I guess you can't really blame a bar, can you?
I don't think so. I really don't.
Unless you're obviously intoxicated and they keep serving you, maybe, but you can't say, oh, they gave me alcohol and I went home and crashed and killed somebody. So,
well, being a celebrity, I'd imagine that there's a pretty big target on your back.
Somewhat for me, I guess. I can only imagine how it is for real celebrities who, people want to sue you. I mean, we've already had an incident where somebody sued me for hurting him, but that affected photos for the rest of my life now. So,
which is a bullshit story because that's kind of your trademark. You take pictures with people and you do the choke.
I used to, yes. And, it sounds ridiculous, I guess, but it became a rite of passage almost.
Yeah.
Where people would bring their friends, guys especially, would bring a friend that I hadn't met before, but they had met me before, say, take a picture with him. What? Why? Just go ahead.
Yeah.
And I would choke you pretty good.
And how did people react to that if they didn't know it was coming?
They would be shocked because, and my wife has always been like, why are you doing that? Just stop because somebody eventually is going to do something. And sure enough, she was right. Somebody said I injured him and, tried to get some kind of payout. But so now I can't do it anymore. It was fun just because it was a thing that people would talk about. Have you taken a picture with Kane? And yeah, he chokes you. Because I would choke you a little bit.
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
And this one guy...
Quite a bit, as some of you know.
See, you're used to being able to look into the camera. So I'll forget where my camera's at. So
but we're not supposed to, though, on a set.
Yeah,
when you're acting, you don't look in the camera.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like weird that I do.
Yeah.
That's another fucked up thing about me. But do I have to watch my language?
No, not at all. This is an R-rated show.
That's good because there's going to be a lot of it.
Yeah. So, but you're saying that this one guy ruined the fucking the fun for everybody. So you've never done it since.
Right.
And did it like kind of fuck with you at conventions? Do you kind of...
I was disappointed and still, and this is, it's been a few years now, and still people are like, oh, really? You can't do it? And they're so disappointed. And sometimes, I feel bad, but, I should have just, if I was smart, I would have just faked it. So I could always do the pose. But, my personality, I like them to leave with something more than just a posed picture.
Now, do people request it still? Do people say, can I get
every
the choke?
time, every show? I said, I can choke you, but I have to do it with my arm.
Yeah, you'll need to sign this waiver.
I should, but I don't do this one anymore. I just do the arm. So
Yeah. Well, you have had, obviously your career success, we could say, is on the Friday the 13th movies, but you also have quite a special connection to the number 13 throughout your entire life, right?
yes, I unfortunately was not born on the 13th, but my wife was. And it was her birthday on Friday the 13th of May when Part 7 came out at the Chinese theater, like we were talking about before. And I kind of limited what we talked about at dinner with the Chinese, but May 13th, 1988, Part 7 came out in theaters, wide release, and I went to the premiere at the Chinese Theater in Hollywood, and it was only one theater then. I think they've broken it up into like 2 or 3 now, but it was one huge theater, jammed. Nobody knew who I was because I hadn't done much press for the movie because it hadn't been released yet. I did some interviews and stuff, but not all that much. And going to the movie on Friday the 13th of May, which was my wife's birthday also, and we weren't married yet, but just to be in that theater, and it was a giant theater then, packed as much as it could be, and to sit in the back of the theater and watch everybody in the audience fucking stand up and cheer when I was doing violent shit to people.
Do you remember what got the biggest pop?
I guess the sleeping bag, which is always my favorite kill, but there was a couple other scenes where people just went nuts.
Yeah.
And it was such an experience because, I'm a stunt guy. I've said this a million times, but I never expected to sign an autograph. I wasn't trying to become famous, which is, nothing bad about that. But people that go into acting, ideally, whether they admit it or not, they'd love to be famous. They'd love to get to the level where people recognize them. Stunts, it doesn't happen. Nobody recognizes a famous stuntman or stuntwoman. So, and that's not why I went into film. And then when this happened and, the movie came out and everybody's wanting to interview me and talk to me and have me sign stuff is like such a strange feeling.
Yeah.
Not bad or anything, but just something I never expected. And the whole career changed. And then, because I did that movie, then other people wanted me to do their horror films. I just looked on IMDb like 3 days ago, just out of curiosity to see how many horror films I've done. Because I've done like 180 films total. And I came up with, give or take a couple, 77 horror films.
My God.
77, whether some of them are just stunts, not many. Most of them are playing some kind of weird character, but 77 horror films. And I always loved horror as a kid. I mean, some of these pictures up here of,
Night of the Living Dead.
The Creature, and, I had all the Aurora models of Wolfman and Frankenstein. And
which is crazy. Those Aurora models go for thousands now.
do they really?
Oh, yeah. People are selling them on eBay.
See, I wish I kept them. I was in Reno as a kid, and that's when I had all that shit. Then we moved to the South Pacific, to Kwajalein in 1968, and we had to get rid of so much shit that I get rid of all my Aurora models, all my comic books, all my G.I. Joes, which I had probably 10 G.I. Joes, every possible race and uniform and stuff, and I think I just gave them away. And fuck, I wish I hadn't done that.
Right.
Because you see these collectible shows now. You know, I watch the Golden Touch sometimes because, you know, I mean, he's in Vegas, right? Or no?
I think Pawn Stars is in Vegas.
Oh, yeah, Pawn Stars, yeah. But, you know, they see all this collectible stuff, and I was like, I had that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I had to give it up.
It's the same thing with me with Pokemon cards. I feel like I had every Pokemon card growing up, and by the time I turned 8, I made the conscious decision, I'm throwing this shit away.
You threw it.
Well,
you didn't even give it away?
Yeah, I like threw it away. Because they were just Pokemon cards. And, you know, once you hit a certain age, you're like, I'm big now. I ain't playing with no damn Pokemon.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, my sons had them.
Oh, really? Do they still, or were those tossed too?
I think they were tossed or given away or sold or something.
Yeah.
But
it's crazy how that works, just how things could gain value like that. You know, Beanie Babies being a bad example. I remember everybody was collecting those.
Yeah. And some of them are still so valuable.
The Beanie Babies?
Yeah.
Wow. So I thought the whole shtick was that everybody thought they were going to be valuable and they decreased in value. But maybe certain Beanie Babies.
I think some of them did.
Yeah.
They increased, but
yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, I showed you a picture last night of me as Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Because for the Face of Horror competition that I kind of host or whatever you want to call it, we do a photo shoot with the winner. And they asked me, I did it last year, and we did the photo shoot at Buffalo Bill's house in Pittsburgh where they shot, you know, Silence of the Lambs, Buffalo Bill. And this time we did it at the Woodbury House, it's called, in Hollywood. And they said, what character have you never played but always wanted to? And I said, Frankenstein. And so we did a full makeup. Maybe, you know, I don't know if you want me to send you the picture.
Yeah,
of it.
yeah, we'll show it on screen now.
And there you go. There's me as Frankenstein.
But you played Frankenstein in one of Adam Green's movies, right? It was like a Jewish Frankenstein.
Yes, a Jewish Frankenstein called Meshuggah. And that was fun because, you know, I could just, Adam Green is amazing. And, you know, the fact that he regenerated my horror career, because people are starting to forget about Jason. I mean, you know, it'll always be a memory, but it's not current anymore. The last movie came out in 2009, I think. So that's a long time since a Friday the 13th. So Adam gave me a new character, a new franchise. And can you imagine coming up with a horror idea and you think it's going to be a franchise, and all the film makers and investors and stuff like, oh, okay, we've heard that before. Everybody thinks their fucking first movie is going to become a franchise. And Adam was so confident that he, if you remember the first Hatchet movie, it ends very abruptly. And just a very, very abrupt ending, because he had the confidence to say, second movie is going to pick up from that moment. And second to third, same thing. And it worked. Because if you have a movie that ends so abruptly that you're like, what happened? And then nothing ever happens with a second one,
People are going to be pissed.
Kind of look stupid.
Yeah, well, and, you know, it's smart, too, because if the studios didn't allow a sequel to come, just that abrupt ending would have probably created some sort of fan campaign like,
something, yeah.
We can't let it end like this.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just loved that second movie picked up from that moment, so that fans were like, oh, shit, this is like one long movie. The first three Hatchet movies is one long movie, really.
And it's fascinating how it was thought out that way from its original conception.
Only Adam Green.
And, you know, like when you think about Friday the 13th, we were talking about this a little bit last night. I don't think that was something that was planned in the beginning of it. Like, I don't think they were like, all right, part one, it's going to be his mom. Part two, he's going to have the sack head. Part three, he's going to find the mask off Shelley.
Yeah.
That wasn't even, they
No
were kind
way.
of just winging it as they were going.
Exactly, and that's why there's no consistency in how the character looks. Every
Yeah.
movie, Jason looks totally different. The mask is different. There's no continuity.
Yeah.
And, I was just very impressed. Even when Adam told me, we're going to do more than one movie, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But in the back of my mind saying, you know how many times I've heard that?
Yeah.
And sure enough, he pulled it off. We did 4 of them. And, by the way, for the audience here, Brendan and I had a 4.5 hour dinner last night.
So it started at 6:30 and
we
we
ended
left at 12:30. So we had a 6-hour dinner.
Now, anybody that knows me knows that is extremely rare. I would find a reason. Okay, we're good. Thanks for dinner. But this guy is very intelligent and very knowledgeable and very prepared with everything. And it was just a pleasure to sit with you and talk that long.
To hear this from you is unbelievable. I mean, the fact that you were even willing to come out and do the show, I think is, there are these, I think, career defining moments, in people's lives that you may one day read in a book like yours. And you being out here, Bill being out here, I mean, I have to pull myself back to reality. I mean, Jason fucking Voorhees is sitting across from me right now. And, I try not to fan out too much because, it's a part of the whole thing. If these people are going to be coming on the show, all right, let's keep it professional. But it's mind-blowing, and it doesn't really set in until after the guest leaves. When I'm editing it is usually when I'm freaking out.
Wow. I'm flattered, but, I've been doing this for 36 years. Interviews, podcast more recently. And it's always so nice when someone is prepared, knowledgeable, and intelligent.
Well, I appreciate that.
And it's just, nothing against other interviewers, but when somebody really knows about your life and your career, man, it's easy to talk. And that's why we could talk for hours last night.
Yeah.
After dessert.
Dude, we even pulled the waiter in on the conversation for a
We
minute.
were the last fucking people leaving.
Yeah, that was crazy. And I remember when we walked out and I said bye to the host who was closing out at the table, she didn't even put her head up. She was like, bye.
So happy to see us leave. But
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm just happy to be here, and I appreciate when someone is prepared. It sounds simple, but nobody ever is.
Well, I appreciate that. And with a story like yours, it's hard not to be prepared because it's not just an extremely fascinating story that kind of unfolds like a movie, but it's also very, very inspiring because you've kind of always been in this position where you've had to prove yourself in this industry. And just as you said a couple of minutes ago, you didn't get into this to be an actor. You didn't get into this to be famous, to be the guy on screen. You got into it for stunts. You got into it for the thrill and for the entertainment. But let's take it to that moment. I mean, that decision to kind of push it into the movies. Or actually, let's take it before that moment. Before you ended up going into the films, when you were around 9, you were doing things like haunted houses on your own, and that's where you first learned you enjoyed scaring people, right?
Yeah, I built we had a shitty little house in Sparks, Nevada when I was a kid before we moved out to the island. And I used to make a little, what I called spook house in my 1-car garage. And I would set up everything and have people come through. It took like 2 minutes at the most.
Yeah.
But I loved just building stuff to try and scare people and be in there. And, it was the beginning of my interest in that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, what was growing up in Sparks like? It's just all desert there, right?
I mean, it's not very different than here, really.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously a lot of desert, and Sparks was outside of Reno, but connected. And, I went to elementary school there.
And did you have any other haunted houses out there? Like, was there?
No.
Wow. So that
There was-
came right out of your brain.
I think it did. I don't remember any commercial haunted houses or attractions or anything. It felt like it was something I just dreamed up.
Yeah.
But when it's a one-car garage, it's not very good. But I love the idea of it. And, never thought I would scare people for a living when I was doing that. And then, it wasn't till later that I got the idea of doing stunts, because I did crazy shit to scare and entertain my friends, and then found out there was a career where you could do that and get paid well.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh. And that's when I started investigating. And, I live in Utah now in the mountains, but my wife and I rented a house in Malibu for 3 months that we're at right now. And it's kind of fun to be back in LA, because we lived in Calabasas for 25 years. But we rented the house, and I'm working out at a gym in Santa Monica, which is just like 3 blocks from where I went to stunt school.
Yeah, stunt school is a big part of your book that I found really fascinating, and how fucking cool of that owner to basically be like, listen, man, you don't have to pay the tuition. You could pay a gym fee and just come in on the off days.
Exactly. I couldn't afford to go to the school, which, as I told you before, Tom Morga, who played Jason in Part 5, was a student, and a guy named Dennis Madelone and Ray Woodfork. These are names that only old stunt people would know, but they were all students. They would go there Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So I was able to scrape up enough money to buy a gym membership, because it was a gym also. And I would go there on the off days, and they would always be there training. Even though it wasn't the official class, they'd be doing high falls and stuff, and I became friends with them and started training with them. So I say I went to stunt school, but I didn't really. I kind of cheated.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, because I remember at the end of you describing going to stunt school and how it was like, all right, now it's time to move forward and try and start getting some work. The first question I had was, wait, did he ever end up paying the tuition?
Yeah, no.
That's amazing.
Never.
That is
I just
amazing.
learned, and you would never find this anymore because of, people that are worried about being held responsible for stuff. But we would take the crash pad, or the porta pit, we called it, like pole vaulters and high jumpers used, and they land in it. Mm-hmm. We would take one out of the gym, drag it down the street, and jump off a building that wasn't even part of the school. We would just climb up on top of the building and do high falls off of it, just practicing.
Jesus.
And it'd be too much litigation and shit now, but I just went by there the other day just to reminisce, man. It's like an appliance store, the gym, and I went around the corner to see the building we used to jump off of, and took some pictures of it just for old time's sake.
Yeah, that is fucking crazy. High falls are one of those things where I think about it, I'm like, I could never be a stuntman just purely because I'm afraid of heights. I'm like deathly afraid of heights, and I can't see how falling on a ton of boxes could feel good.
And boxes are the best, in my opinion, better than porta pit. But
interesting. So
I'm
why?
not sure you should have told me you're afraid of heights, though, because at some point I'll fuck with you.
Yeah,
that way. So just expect it.
Pick me up over your
Oh
head.
no, I'm talking about going up in the stratosphere or some hanging off the. Oh, they still have the zip line on the stratosphere.
Yeah, they do. They do. It's one of those things where it's just like, I don't know. You have to have a lot of trust in the mechanics of whatever it is.
I know. That's true.
You got to trust the pilot and make sure he's not having a bad day. In fact, when I picked you up from the airport, I was sitting in the car waiting for you to come out, and I saw this pilot walk out of the car looking absolutely miserable, lit up a cigarette, and then like flicked it on the ground and walked inside like, oh, just another day. Like, these are the fucking guys who are flying our planes.
Yeah, really.
And, I mentioned it on the last show, but I feel like planes just don't have really mastered technology. It's like the one thing they need to do is fly.
Right.
What's the one thing that could go wrong? it ceases to fly.
Right.
They kind of
Then you're
stopped at that. Well, they stopped at that. They were like, all right, the Wright brothers did it. We're done. And that was it. It immediately went from fucking paper and wood planes to metal. And they were like, okay, this is mastered.
Right. You know, I flew here on my birthday because I fucking hate my birthday now.
Why?
Because it's another year older.
Oh,
I
shit.
fucking hate it. You'll get there. Believe
Yeah.
me.
Well, trust
You
me.
will not like it at some point. You're still young. You're my oldest son's age, so you guys got a long way to go. But at some point, you're like, my birthday, fuck it.
Yeah.
I don't want to
You said
celebrate.
he's 29, right?
Yeah, well, he'll be 30 in May.
Yeah. You know, people have asked. It's funny because people in the past have been like, how old are you? And I'd be like, oh, I'm 29. They'd be like, oh, you're such a baby. Now that I'm 30, it's just nothing. You know, 30 and 39 sound the same.
Okay. Yeah.
It just has 30 in it.
69 is fucking terrible.
Yeah, but you know, you've got the experience. You know, you're in shape. You don't look 69. You know what I mean? I know 69-year-olds who look 97.
Yes, I agree with that, but you know, just had a knee replacement and heart attack 2 years ago and shit. So, you know, it humbles you.
Yeah.
You think you're invincible,
Yeah.
and then something like that happens, and you say, "Oh shit,
Right.
I could have been dead that day."
You know, it's funny because stuntmen have to work out, eat properly, make sure their nutrition's on point, just so they don't have to injure themselves, or as actors are doing it so they could just stay in shape and look good on camera. I mean, you guys have a completely different focus. How can I not break my arm on this fall?
Right. And how many bones have I broken in my career?
Zero.
In my life?
Yeah, zero, which is
correct.
odd. Another parallel. I've also never broken a bone. I typically don't say that out loud because I always felt like I was going to jinx it.
And I don't believe in that shit, so I always say it. I don't.
Yeah.
But you've never broken a bone either.
Not once. I mean, I guess other than my skull, but
That's not broken.
yeah.
I don't think there's many stunt people that have had as long a career as I've had that can say that.
So the difference between a stunt actor and a stunt coordinator is what? The stunt coordinator is essentially just managing the actors?
Well, managing the action.
The action.
Yeah. So, which includes all the stunt people doing stunts and the actors doing some of their stuff. And that's why I always liked coordinating, because you have to decide when you have to give a budget, first of all, how much it's going to cost for all the stunts to be done, which is incredibly hard to anticipate. You know, you have to think, let's see, we got a car flip here, we got a high fall, how much extra people are going to get paid, because the stunt people always are on the same rate as the actors, the day players, per day, and then you get an extra amount every day when you do a stunt. And that's all determined by the stunt coordinator. So stunt coordinator on a film is a very important job. You're keeping the actors safe. You're deciding when an actor should do a stunt themselves and when it should be a double. And, you know, and it's a fine line, because some of the actors get all fucked off that you don't have the confidence in them doing the stunt, and, you know, and then you say, okay, fine, do it. And then they get hurt and it's your fault.
Yeah.
You can't win sometimes, but I've always liked it. And then you decide, you do all the hiring of the stunt people for the movie, who's going to do what stunt, double what actor and stuff. So, you know, I always liked it. Being a stunt person is fine, but you have to wait for the stunt coordinator to call you for a job.
Is there any actors who, you know, because you always hear like Tom Cruise does his own stunts and all these other guys do their own stunts. Is that kind of like a load of shit, or do these guys really do their own stunts?
It's a complicated answer, because nobody, I can say this with confidence and people are going to argue with me, but no actor does all their own stunts, period. Somebody like Tom Cruise does a lot of his own stuff, but not everything, because I know the guy that doubled him in several movies. I've hired him. He was in Jason Goes to Hell.
Really? What did he do?
He doubled one of the main actors.
Yeah.
and I've hired him before, and he doubled Tom in certain scenes of certain movies. But he does do a lot of his own. There's other people that say they do, but they don't, because I know they're doubles.
Yeah.
Don't fucking try and influence the stunt community, because we know better.
Right.
If you want to say to general public that you do your own stunts, I'm not crazy about it, but fine, whatever you want to do for your image. But
Because it would be hard. If you're the lead actor in a film, you end up doing a stunt and you fuck up your elbow or something. I would imagine now it's just, you just screwed up the entire production.
exactly. So it's not always, and it's happened to me, as I think we talked about that in Jason Takes Manhattan. There was a scene where Jason gets hit by a cop car. And it's a tricky stunt to do because, you could sustain a minor injury or even a major one, because there's a car coming at you and you go up on the hood and fly off of it as the car goes by. Tricky stunt to do. So Paramount and the producers said, we don't want you to do that stunt. I was like, I've done it a lot of times. It's not something I can't do. But they said exactly what you said. If you fuck up your leg, now we have to replace you for a couple weeks playing the character. So would you rather us let a stunt person do that stunt and you continue playing the character, or take that chance? So I reluctantly let Ken Kersinger, of all people, play Jason in Freddy vs. Jason. He was Jason getting hit by the cop car.
Wow, interesting. And you just never think from the audience's perspective, too, that there's like a method or a strategy to getting hit by a car. You talked a lot about like falling down stairs and stunts, too. And it's just like, how does that not suck? I mean, I'm sure there's ways you could roll and tuck your body, but it hurts no matter what, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's certain, like getting hit by a car, you're going to be sore the next day for the most part, if you do it properly.
Now, do they run the car full speed just as you see it in the movie, or is it sped up?
Oh, no, it's usually that speed.
Wow.
And the trick is to get your legs up just as the car makes contact with you. You have to kind of not jump, because then you can see that, but lift as the car is hitting you so you can go over the hood and the top of the car, ideally, and then hit the ground.
Yeah.
It's just a tricky, it's one of the trickier stunts to do correctly.
How do you fall down stairs without fucking yourself up?
It sounds crazy, but you have to do it at as much speed as you can, because if you go down, falling down a flight of stairs slowly, you're bumping the whole time. If you do it quickly, and it always looks better, then you're less impact. I don't even know if that makes sense when you're thinking about it, but that's what it is. You want to go at full speed and go down those stairs because you won't hit as much.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So it's like move so fast, nothing could really hurt you that bad.
Yeah.
Is there any stunts that you, when it's presented to you, you're like, fuck, this one again? That just always sucks to do. No matter how trained you are, it's always going to hurt.
Getting hit by a car.
Wow.
Yeah. That is one of the trickier things, because you can almost never do it without some kind of minor injury. And this is if you sell out. A lot of people don't do it as well as they could because of that. Mm-hmm. So they go at an angle and they go off the side of the car, and I always think it looks shitty.
Yeah.
And if you really commit to it, it knocks the shit out of you.
Jeez.
But it looks amazing. It's like, I used to work on Dukes of Hazzard as a second team stunt guy. I was never one of the main guys that always drove the General Lee. And, sometimes I drive cop cars and stuff, but you flip a car. It's called a pipe ramp, and if you ever see a car driving and then all of a sudden it goes and spins in the air, and that's a pipe ramp. Then there's something called a cannon roll, which has a charge built into the bottom of the car that it's an explosive charge that used to be it would shoot a piece of telephone pole out of a cylinder in the bottom of the car so that you didn't have to hit a ramp. You would just hit the button, the charge would come out and make the car flip.
Oh, Jesus.
And both of those are, I always loved pipe ramps. I didn't do many cannon rolls because it was more preparation and not that different. So that a pipe ramp was easier to, if you position the cameras correctly, you don't see that it's going up, it's a steel ramp that is just like kind of like a railroad tie going like that. And you bring it right inside one of the two sides of the tire, and that makes the car go like this.
Yeah.
And that was always easier to set up and less time involved. So cannon rolls, I don't even know if they do them anymore. But pipe ramps still exist. And, on Dukes, I would, like I said, do some of the smaller stuff, but I did do a pipe ramp one time in a cop car.
Yeah.
So, but those, again, I think I've had several undiagnosed concussions over my career, which are, playing into my life now because I have some issues with memory and stuff, and I think it's from that.
Now, because I know you're a stunt guy at heart, and then you're an actor second. That's why you got into it. It holds your heart. But with all these injuries, and all these prolonged effects that are now taking its toll, are you starting to wean yourself out of that, or are you still trying to get in there?
Fortunately, because my career has transitioned into dialogue, I do enjoy dialogue far more than I ever expected, and just as much as I enjoyed stunts now. Because at this age, you don't want to be flipping cars and doing that, and most guys my age are retired, and they don't even work in film anymore. I've been fortunate to kind of, because of the horror thing, play a character that people know, and now, and that's part of the reason I live in Utah now, is that I don't have to be in LA anymore. Mm-hmm. And I don't have to go on auditions.
Wow.
And we are, at this point, very fortunate to be offered films that are dialogue roles just because we're known in that genre.
Right.
So people know that if you want somebody to take a look at your small horror film, have a name in it that is synonymous with horror. So we're offered amazing movies, and it's all dialogue, and I can't believe I even feel it, but I feel like it's just as much fun as stunts now.
Wow, that's a
and
big
just
statement.
as challenging.
Yeah.
Because, not everyone can deliver dialogue convincingly. And you don't want to look like you're acting. And I always approached Jason that way. I wanted it to look natural, not like a guy trying to look scary.
And you said earlier, you're like, I played Jason. I don't think you just played Jason. I think you revolutionized the character. I think you are what kind of cemented in who he is now. There were 6 people who played Jason before you. Not a single one played him again.
Right.
And you played him.
And 2 people after me that have not repeated it either. So
right.
I feel kind of good about that. But
And when walking into the character of Jason Voorhees, how big of a fan of the series were you before you got the role?
Huge. I saw all the movies, every time they would come out with one, I'd have to go see it. And yeah, that's the hard thing to explain to people, how unbelievable it felt to be a fan of a character for 6 films. And I was a fan and loved watching what would happen next. And now I'm going to be playing that character. It still is mind-blowing to me that I was put in that position. You know, this character that you love to play, you're now going to be him. And it's still phenomenal to me that happened. And I was so honored that's why I tried to do everything I could to do justice to the character.
Now, but before you got the role, did you have an idea in your head? Were you like, this is what I'm going to bring to the character? Or was it kind of figured out while you were in costume and on set?
I never had any preconceived ideas because I never thought it would happen. Mm-hmm. So once John Buechler told me I got the job, then I started every makeup test we had, because there's, so much makeup, 3.5 hours of makeup, prosthetics,
right? And they originally were like, I don't think Kane will work. We gotta see some stuff first. You guys did a screen test and it fucking blew them away. Right.
And that was all Buechler's idea. He said, this is what we'll do to convince Paramount, because they still had hesitation, because I think CJ did a good job in Part 6. And I think they were kind of inclined to use him again. And Buechler was like, let's do the full makeup. We'll shoot some scenes on his own dime, by the way. And we'll shoot some stuff on film with you as the character and present it to them. And that's what made the decision. They were like, okay, that works, and we like it. And I wish I had that footage.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you remember what the screen test was?
I think it was a buddy of mine who's gone now, and Alan Marcus, I used to work with for years. He was a stunt guy. He doubled Kevin Blair in Part 7, and we did many films together. And I think it was him and me, and I was just doing horrible shit to him. Violent things in the full makeup and everything. And I gotta look into that and see if I can find that footage, because since John is gone now also, I'm not sure who would be in possession of it.
Maybe Scream Factory, who did the box set of all the Friday the 13th movies. They had a lot of making ofs on the special features.
Right.
A lot of unseen footage that I've never seen myself. Part 7, or was it Part 8? Which one was it, Part 7 or Part 8 that was like massively censored?
7.
Yeah, so that was really cool to see in the bonus features.
Every single kill we did. That was the only disappointment when I saw the movie at the Chinese theater. It was like every time I was killing somebody, it was cut to almost nothing compared to what we shot. And it was just the timing of the MPAA then. They were really cracking down on that stuff and not showing anything. Like,
I wonder what made them lighten up, though, because now you could fucking show anything you want.
I know. I don't know. And it was, Buechler knew that it was going to happen, so he would almost shoot extra violent shit, knowing that it would never make it, but it would give them more to cut, and maybe more would be left.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if that worked really, but
it seems like it would work, over the top violence in certain scenes, just so it could kind of, not make the other ones
get back to what we really wanted. But, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I find that whole thing fascinating too, just because, back in the 80s, I mean, that was like Jason's prime time. People were tuning in live. These movies were coming out pretty much year after year. I don't think they skipped a year up until like 87 or something.
Let's see. So 80, and then second one was maybe 82 possibly, and then third was 83, fourth was 84, then 85 and 86. Yeah, maybe skipped 87. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy that it was such a big phenomenon back then that they were just like, let's keep making it. Also with different directors too, right? I think
Every time.
Yeah, that's crazy. I wonder like what that was. Like who was ultimately in charge? Was it a Paramount thing?
It must have been because, you know, the look of Jason changing every movie and a different director, different writer, you know, it didn't seem like the best way to have any continuity, but I guess it didn't really matter.
Yeah.
People didn't care. You know, there's so many, I mean, Jason is so different in every movie, even the ones I did. It doesn't make sense. Freddy never looked any different, really. I mean, slightly little makeup changes, but still looked like the same guy. But Jason's mask was different and wardrobe and everything.
Speaking of Freddy, you were supposed
Freddy's a bitch, by the way. I tell him that to his face.
Well,
and if Robert is if we're at a convention together, we fuck with each other all the time.
Yeah, well, the rivalry has to be real.
Oh, yeah. And he'll be doing a panel, and I'll go behind the curtain behind him and start yelling, Freddy's a bitch, and Robert Englund sucks. And he does the same thing to me, but it's a fun rivalry because we've known each other since before either one of us was known for our characters.
How'd you guys meet?
Just, you know, over the course of doing films, we just, you know, we never really worked together, but we've known each other since before either one of us was that, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And now we're both known for certain characters, so we fuck with each other. And, you know, I'll always write Freddy's a bitch on. Like, people bring that double pop with Freddy and Jason in it. And if he's already signed it, it'll say Jason's a pussy, and then I'll put Freddy's a bitch, and, you know.
Yeah.
It's just fun.
But if a couple of things went a little bit differently, you would have played Freddy Krueger.
I mean, possibly, because when I was doing Hills Have Eyes 2, I was doing stunts on it, and I was doubling a character called the Reaper. Huge fucking guy that I wasn't anywhere close to his size.
Like 7 feet tall, right?
Yeah. And I was doing some stunts, but it didn't matter because it was on a motorcycle and, you know, other stuff. But I was talking to Wes Craven on the set one day, and he said he was developing a new character that he's going to make a franchise. And I was like, oh, okay. I've heard that before.
So it was even like that back then?
Yes. And he says, yeah, this is a character that's going to be having been burned, and I'm thinking about using an actor with real burn scars, which I have. And he just briefly mentioned it to me on the set, and then, of course, he said, yeah, I said, what's the character going to be called? And he said, I think I'm going to call him Fred Krueger. Fred.
He gave him his formal name.
Fred Krueger.
Frederick Krueger.
And I said, oh, yeah, that sounds good. And, you know, and then, of course, he decided to go in a different direction and do prosthetic because my face is not scarred, which is the whole point of Freddy, is his face is all scars. So,
did you ever think about, like, if you would have got the role, how your Freddy would have differed from the Freddy we have now?
Not really, but I don't think I would have done it as well as Robert.
Well, I think you would have done it completely different.
Probably, and I would have tended to make the character less comical.
Yeah, you would have been more sinister. That's what I pick up from that.
Right, but I don't know if that would have been the right choice because that's kind of the popularity with Freddy. He's smart ass and fucking violent and, you know. So I don't think it would have been as good as the way Robert did it.
Well, I mean, that comedy aspect in some way kind of makes it scarier. You know, I talk to a lot of people about like Evil Dead, for example, how the Deadites kind of act goofy and they're laughing and they say funny things.
Doesn't mean it's not scary.
Right. People almost take that as a comedy.
Right.
And I don't think that makes it a comedy. I think that makes it slightly scarier.
Yeah, I mean, how many, real life people presented themselves as comical characters like clowns, for example, which we talked about a little bit, but, they have a persona of being a fun, lovable clown, and they're fucking killing people and burying them under the house.
Oh, you're referring to Gacy.
Yes.
So last night at dinner, he said, I think I had brought up like Manson or something, and he was like, tomorrow, make sure you ask me about Gacy. And so now would be like the perfect time. I got to hear it.
So there's a show in Chicago called Flashback Weekend, which is a great convention. I like to do it every year. It's huge. It's one of the bigger ones. And I've done it for years. And I have a friend named Elton, and who grew up in Chicago, and his whole family did. And I met his mom years ago, and she told me a story, and I was fascinated by the story. And she told me of something that she was in possession of. And I said, please, you got to let me purchase that or whatever. Because, I've always been fascinated by serial killers. I don't admire them, don't get all fucked off about it. But I'm fascinated by the mindset of somebody that can do that shit. Right. So I know all the stories of all the famous serial killers, and since I played BTK and Ed Gein, and I'm just fascinated by the mindset. So she allowed me to possess this piece of memorabilia, which is so amazing to me. She showed me a Polaroid of her as like a 6-year-old girl or something, and she's with Pogo.
Oh my fucking God.
At a birthday party.
And she's from Chicago.
Pogo is right behind her, and she's a little girl. And I was like, holy shit. And she allowed me to keep it.
That is incredible. And I love Polaroids too, because it really is a snapshot of that very moment. That little picture came right out that camera and just,
yep. And she was next to fucking Pogo, which most people know is John Wayne Gacy's clown persona that he would do at kids' parties while looking for victims. Who knows? But
yeah, he was a sick fuck, man. I mean, the guy was, a stand-up guy outside of all the shit that he was doing. Yeah. He worked for the city. He did a lot of campaigning for government officials.
Right.
And, in his free time, he dressed up as a clown.
And murdered people.
Murdered little boys.
Yeah. Well, young boys.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and the way he did it, too. There's a fantastic documentary on ID called The Clown and the Candyman, where they actually take John Wayne Gacy and Dean Corll, and they tie them together through one third-party source. I forgot what his name was. But it was essentially a pedophile ring that was being sent out in the mail to, people like Gacy and Dean Corll, but also to politicians.
Who was Dean Corll again?
Dean Corll is a serial killer out of Dallas, Texas, I believe. And they called him the Candyman. His family owned a famous candy store in town that, everybody loved going to. Shit you'd see straight out of Willy Wonka or Home Alone or something.
And he was killing boys also?
Oh, yeah. He was doing it in he didn't stack up as many bodies as Gacy, but almost the way he murdered these people were almost more disgusting. He definitely
How
had a
come
more
I've
demented
never
mind.
heard the name?
I actually didn't either before I watched that documentary. And I kind of felt like, maybe I should have known because of how, crazy this guy was, but deep cut kind of thing. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. And to find that they were connected through the same people and that John Wayne Gacy and Dean Corll, Chicago and Texas were connected and knew of each other. It was like a network of pedophile murderers.
Wow. That's crazy. That's what's so fascinating for me is that someone can have like Gacy, two completely different people. You would like this guy in social situations, and then he was doing that other shit. That's why I was so excited when Mike Pfeiffer, the director, asked me to play BTK,
Which,
because I
by
knew
the
his
way,
story.
Your BTK, I remember when I first saw that you were cast as BTK, I was like, I don't think they look too much alike. But when I watched the film, there's one shot in specific where I was like, that is why he was cast, and that's why he's perfect. You pull up in a car, you've got the hat on, and I think you're writing a ticket to the girl who's putting flowers in her back seat. That shot, you guys look identical. I was blown away at the resemblance.
I have only one regret about that movie, that I wish I had the commitment to shave the top of my head.
That was because BTK was a bald guy, but you had played the role so well that when you played it, did anybody get in contact with you? Have you talked to any of the family members or people that were involved?
No, never have.
BTK was interesting as hell too. I mean, honestly, probably one of the more interesting serial killers.
Yeah.
The guy wanted to get caught. He liked the attention. I think the way he got caught was he dropped off a Special K box somewhere. Actually, no. So the Special K box came before. He wrote BT in front of the K.
Wait, I don't know that.
Yeah. I mean, dude, he would do these weird things and drop little Easter eggs off for the police and write them a letter and say, you could find this here. And the police in the beginning thought, this guy just wants attention. He doesn't, and they said that to him. And he would go and send belongings of the victims to the police as well. And so he became pen pals. He liked the attention. He asked one of the officers he was riding, he goes, hey, if I send you a flash drive with shit on it, will you be able to track where I'm from? And
That's right. I remember that part.
And the officer goes,
And then
no.
he goes, no, hell no, that's impossible. And sure enough, that's what fucking got him caught.
Literally right-click information, and it's like, Dennis Rader.
That's about as ignorant as I am with technology. I constantly have to call my sons to help me figure out computer shit.
This shit's moving too fast at this point, man.
Yeah, both my sons, my oldest is named Jace, not Jason. I thought that was a little much, but Jace, Jace. He was, they did not want to pursue film, which was fine with me because, I wanted them to go off in their own direction. They could have had an easier career than I did because of, the lineage or whatever you want to call it, that, wait, you're Kane's son? Oh, so it would have been easier, but I was never bothered that they didn't care to. But they both have been in different movies.
Jason X, right?
With me.
Or were they just on set for that one?
Just on set for Jason X. And, it was hard on Jason X and Part 8 because we shot in Canada. And I wanted, my buddy Steve, that I've known since high school, came up to Toronto when we were shooting Jason X, and I wanted him to have a scene with me. And it was so hard to convince them because, well, he's not a Canadian citizen. This is a Canadian production, so it was such a pain in the ass. But eventually we did a quick scene. But Jace is he's in the first Hatchet movie, and anytime you hear, and I guess in the later ones you didn't hear it much, but you hear the mournful daddy, you know, especially in the first movie. That was kind of a combination of my voice and Jace's voice.
So like layered on top of each other.
And he's also, you know, in a quick scene in the first movie. And Reed actually had dialogue in Ed Gein,
Wow.
my
What part
younger
was he
son.
in?
There's a scene where a little kid, because he was like 5 or 6 or 8 or something at the time, and he is looking for the sheriff's deputy because they were supposed to go catch frogs. So he said he was looking for, I can't remember the character's name, but to see if he could go catch frogs with me. If you ever see the movie again, that kid is Reed.
That's awesome. You have kind of done that a lot. Like you're able to call some shots on your sets. I mean, you know, you've got Quadge on the capsule. I don't even know what it's called, but what Jason was held in. You know, you had the
Quadge,
hometown
yeah.
island on there.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you're getting your friends and your kids in your movies. That's awesome.
And there's a lot of other Quadge Easter eggs in different movies. Adam was great about doing that also in the Hatchet movies.
And the Jewish Frankenstein one too. What was the name of it? I got to stop calling it Jewish Frankenstein.
Meshuggah.
Meshuggah. What was the whole film called? It was like a bunch of things. Like Chill something.
Chillerama.
Chillerama.
That's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite part of that was when you had first woken up as the Jewish Frankenstein, and it was like, they. I thought that shit was so fun.
Yeah. Yeah, because, you know, it's so much fun working with Adam because he's so creative and knowledgeable about horror and stuff, and he makes stuff fun. And, you know, it's a difficult thing to achieve in a horror film to make people laugh and still be scared. Because, you know, those are two completely different things, a comedy and a horror film. And then he combines the two effortlessly, and it's just fun for the audience.
Right. I think the best comedy horror movie I think I've ever seen is Shaun of the Dead. Have you watched that?
Oh, sure.
Oh my God. I mean, what they were able to do with a zombie movie,
But it wasn't really scary, though.
it was, you know,
It was creepy
yeah.
and funny, but what Adam does is make it funny when I'm not around, and then I show up and it's fucking terrifying
Yeah.
again. So that's the tough part of it. You know, some of the scenes we did, I was laughing my ass off as Victor, and you know, just watching them.
You know, I think it's there was something I heard about how you get into character, and you know, specifically with Victor Crowley. But I heard you also did this on the set of Friday the 13th as well.
From whom, by the way?
Your book and a couple of documentaries. But apparently, you you go into hiding. You don't let any of the cast see you until you guys shoot together. And typically, in the distance, they'll hear some pretty disturbing sounds, right?
Right. Especially on the Hatchet movies. With the Friday movies, not quite as much, but I would still do stuff because you're in an uncomfortable makeup for 16 hours a day, every day, 6 days a week, typically, not even 5, because when you're on location, you can shoot 6-day weeks. If you're in town, it has to be 5-day weeks. So it makes it easier. I don't even know if people realize that, but you're on location. They allow you to shoot 6 days a week to minimize the cost of housing an entire production of people. So it gets very tedious and fucking exhausting and frustrating and uncomfortable. So I found an outlet to that discomfort by fucking with the actors, where I would love when they started seeing me do something where they thought I didn't know they were watching me, but of course I did know. So I would do shit off in the distance and make noises and do things because I knew they were like, holy shit, this guy's fucking method. Is he going to hurt me? Yeah. And it was just entertaining for me. It was a way to break the tedium of working on the set just by having fun.
But who better to have kill you than a stunt coordinator, right?
Yes, I guess, because you know it's going to be safe. I never hurt anyone. You know, I mean, maybe it wasn't comfortable, but I never injured anyone that I was killing.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty proud of that because, you know, 55 kills as Jason and I think, and 63 as Victor.
Jesus.
And that's just, you know, 2 franchises.
Yeah.
That's a lot of killing and a lot of violence, and nobody ever walked away injured,
Right.
which I'm very proud of. The only person I've ever injured, and it was at a convention. I don't know. I wonder if I should even talk about it, but oh well, I already started now.
We'll beep it or cut it if it's too bad.
No, it's my buddy Steve that I've known for 51 years from high school, sitting with me at a convention, and I cut him with the machete
Holy shit.
because I was fucking around and didn't realize how sharp the machete was, and I cut his arm badly.
Wow.
I'll show you a picture one day, but we can't show it on this because people are going to be like,
So it was like a real machete cut.
oh, it was horrible. And he's the only person I've ever injured. And that's, you know, my best friend.
It's the person
Which I
to
guess
do it
is
to.
good
Yeah.
because he's not going to sue me.
Right.
Because he knew it was just a fucking accident being stupid. But it's the only person I've ever injured with a machete. And I've done a lot of shit with machetes.
Yeah, you more than anybody probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always heard this legend that the actors, well, first off, they were never really given the fact that they were in a Friday the 13th movie. Like, I think it was called Ashes to Ashes on one of them, and like Burial at Sea for Jason Takes Manhattan.
No, Ashes to Ashes was Jason Takes Manhattan.
Oh, okay.
And part 7 was Birthday Bash.
So that kind of puts into perspective how unbelievably popular that franchise was. I mean, you had to lie to the actors because you just couldn't trust that they were not going to say anything.
Yeah, I'm not even that sure that it was for the actors. I don't remember it being that way. It was more for not letting anyone know we were filming a Friday movie. I think the cast pretty much knew, but it was totally secret. Other than that, what are you working on? Well, it's a movie called Birthday Bash. And was there a killer? Yeah, he's called Ethan.
That's what you were called.
In the script of part 7 and part 8, the killer was called Ethan.
Interesting. So the script you guys had while shooting, your name was Ethan.
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing.
So that if anyone came across the script, they wouldn't know we were doing a Friday the 13th movie. But I think the cast, unless I could be wrong, but I think the cast knew.
I also used to hear that the cast would get so excited and they were such fans of the series that each of them would stick around for another person's death scene.
I heard that too, yeah. So
Yeah.
just to be able to experience it, yeah.
Yeah, that's got to be absolutely insane, man. I mean, in just that full circle moment of you being able to go and watch it at the Chinese theater must have been such a feeling. And, because, you're wearing a mask in the movie. At the time, this was your first Friday the 13th, so you weren't really cemented in yet. And just to be able to sit in the back of the theater and watch everybody organically react to it.
Yeah.
It's just awesome.
It was unbelievable. And, the whole start of a different career. So that night.
What do you think was it about Jason that made everybody love him so much? Like, why do you think he became such a huge craze in the 80s?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. I'm not sure. It was just something that people liked to see what was going to happen to him next. I mean, it could have been any character really, but the hockey mask became so iconic that I think people just were excited to see the next idea that somebody'd come up with. And fortunately for me, it was, 4 in a row. And, it's just been an amazing ride.
Which one did you like doing the most?
7.
You liked doing 7 the most?
I did, because it had the most stunts for me. And I was still in the mindset of a stunt guy. I wanted to do the biggest stunts I could. And when I read the script and saw that Jason was going to be on fire, I was very excited, because I hadn't done too many more fire stunts between getting burned and that movie by that time.
Yeah.
I had, done one on Avenging Force with Michael Dudikoff. I did a couple movies with him.
Was that the one with the exploding house?
Yes, I think it was.
Man, I watched that scene. The amount of smoke that was billowing out of the actual house that was on fire, I'd imagine that being difficult.
Yeah, for special effects, for sure. And, typically the smoke is not the kind that you don't want to breathe. It's fairly safe, but the explosions and the fire, and it wasn't a real house, obviously. It was a front.
Yeah.
But, yeah. But yeah, I loved the idea of all the stunts. Every time I would get to another scene, there was something else happening to Jason. And that's before and since has never really been the case, because nobody ever could effectively battle Jason except the girl with telekinetic powers. So she could make anything happen. And I loved the idea of that, because so many of the stunts in that movie I'm very proud of.
Yeah. And I liked the Tommy Jarvis switch up. I wanted to see a new lead in it.
Yeah.
I think for me, Jason Takes Manhattan feels the most 80s, because I think it was like the only one out of the series that actually had a song made for it. It was called like In the Dark of the Night or something. It plays
Yeah.
at the beginning.
Yeah.
And it was just such a nostalgic movie. You were mentioning that people at the time were pissed off because they thought the whole film was going to be in Manhattan.
Well, I mean, how do you not think that when it's called Jason Takes Manhattan?
Yeah.
And I always said it was Jason Takes Manhattan eventually,
Eventually.
because so much of it was on the boat. And that was all, I'm sure, dictated because of the budget.
Yeah.
Because we shot one night, the very last night of principal photography was done in Times Square. And there's no way they could have afforded to do much more in New York, because it's so expensive. So the city stuff that appears to be New York was, of course, Vancouver, which was cheaper.
Shit, really?
Oh, yeah. Other than when you can actually see that it's Times Square, everything else is Vancouver.
Wow. So where you got hit by the car in the alleyway, that's in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Wow. Movie magic. I would have never guessed.
Yeah. And so that part of it works, but the story being on the ship for too long, probably.
Yeah.
But, people still liked it, and that is still in 47 years in this business, 180 films and 150 episodic TV shows. Still the most amazing night of or day of shooting I've ever had was being in Times Square.
How was it?
I mean, it was, Times Square is crazy busy. And so in order for us to shoot on a traffic island in the middle of Times Square, where the boombox was, that scene, and kicking the radio and all that, they had to have NYPD holding people back in different streets so that we could have access to Times Square without making it look like it really was. And you couldn't have, you know, everybody in those scenes were extras, not just, you know, general public. So for them to be able to block off all those streets with barricades and police officers and hundreds of people watching us shoot, you know, you've heard me say it before. I felt like the biggest fucking movie star in the world.
People were
because,
screaming out.
oh, they were yelling. If I never took the mask off because I didn't want to ruin the image for them. And so if I was standing in Times Square between takes and I would look over in a certain direction, fucking people would go nuts, screaming because I was looking in their direction.
Yeah.
So I would do it, you know, on their behalf. And it was just something I don't think would ever happen again. I don't think you could ever shoot during an evening in Times Square like that again, because it's just too complicated to hold everybody back.
Yeah, I try to think about the last time I've seen Times Square in a movie, and I can't even think of one.
Right.
So you embraced your horror stardom. Like, it wasn't something you were, because you always hear certain people talk about how horror, you know, the horror ghetto and wanting to break out of this kind of like horror image and being typecast.
I don't like those fucking people.
That's awesome. So you've embraced it since day one.
Of course. I'm honored to have been part of it. You know, once you go into film, whether you want to admit it or not, as an actor, you'd love to be famous and known for something. And so you're known for horror, and that's beneath you now?
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Well, and it is really the one true way to be immortal. Like, if you think about Nosferatu, that movie was made in 1922, 100 years ago.
Wow.
And we're still talking about F.W. Murnau and the guy who played Count Orlok. I think it was Max Schreck or something. And it's like, you know, these guys are ingrained in history forever because, you know, of their work and what they were able to do creatively. But, you know, because they're famous, they're on screen. You know, we could see them. And it is kind of that one true way to immortalize yourself in history.
Right. And you know, regardless if you become known in an area of film, you have to be honored. Mm-hmm. And it just pisses me off when some actors feel like, yeah, horror, it's beneath me.
Right.
You know, I'd like to fucking kill them. And they say stuff like that. Really? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You should just be happy you're known for something. I mean, how lucky is that to be known? I mean, you know, I guess because I have kind of an unusual name, people recognize my name all the time. You know, and I'm going to say, well, it's only horror. Mm-hmm. It just bothers me. So,
which is weird because it's like, you know, Halloween is like one of the biggest holidays ever in the country. And,
right.
you know, some of the best dramas are horror films like Hereditary, you know, made by Ari Aster. That's like one of the best drama movies ever made. It just so happens to be a horror. And the fact that like Toni Collette, who gives probably one of the best performances I've ever seen on screen, you know, the scene of her breaking down because she finds her daughter's dead body in the back seat, put the pit in your stomach like you just found your daughter in the back seat. And I don't even have a fucking daughter. Right. And, you know, like zero kind of recognition at any of the Academy Awards or anything like that. And I feel like it's kind of always been pushed down to the bottom of the barrel when really it's one of the, if not the most artistic form of filmmaking. You know, I mean, and we were just talking about the Adam Green with the balance of comedy and horror too. It's like one of the only genres where you could take other genres and mix it with it. Or, you know, like you could take, it's one of the only genres where a bad movie could be really good. You know what I mean? Like, for example, I'm going to beep this because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but that's probably one of the worst acted movies you could see. But that was the point. They wanted the B-side feel for it. It was a low budget movie, and it's just low budget in horror is rewarded, whereas I feel like it's not really rewarded anywhere else.
Yeah. Well, that's true. They are so popular at conventions now.
Yeah.
That whole cast.
Has it gotten bigger? Like over the last few years, I hear a lot of people talking about how, conventions are kind of resurging these people. And I, being a fan, I'm like, I don't think that's the case. It's always been just as big for me. But you're on the inside. I mean, have you noticed a big uptick?
I think maybe a little bit more of a wide appeal. Used to be just horror fans that would be interested in conventions, but now because conventions have expanded a little bit into almost like Comic-Con guests also, that, maybe that's part of the reason. I don't know. It's just, I do think that they are more popular, horror conventions now. They're bigger than they ever were. They are always popular, but now, the money people spend at these things is just unbelievable, and the attendance and how many people go, and when you drive up to a venue at a horror convention, if you're not staying, if it's not in the hotel itself, and you see a line of people waiting to get into the convention that goes completely around the block, hundreds of people just waiting to get in the venue. That didn't used to happen.
Right.
And it's just, it makes it more enjoyable for all of us.
Yeah, there's a certain catharsis that you get from horror films that almost make you feel a lot more connected to the people in it.
By the way, I brought a compilation that I just had made. I don't know if and when you want to show it, but
Let's do it now. Let's throw it up on screen.
I had a friend named Ben who edits some things for me and put together a new reel that has never been seen, because I just got it from him. And it's a compilation of scenes that I've done in horror movies, violent things set to a very good metal type song. And the only people that have seen this are my wife and my sons. Nobody else, no friends, no fans. I'll be using it at conventions eventually, but nobody has ever seen it, and I thought it would be cool to debut it on your show.
Well, I am honored, my friend, and we are going to pull it up on screen.
And again, nobody has ever seen this except my wife and sons, so hopefully you like it. That's a fucking weird picture, but
I'm honored that I am one of the first to see this. Part 7's makeup was the best.
she was so scared in this.
I love the balloons. Iconic shot right there.
Yep.
Another iconic shot
In Vancouver.
in Vancouver.
I love some of the people, some of the stunt people like that. When I smash that guy's head, oh,
There's Julius getting
Yep.
his fucking head knocked off.
there's Kurzinger.
Wait, where?
That
That's
was
Kurzinger?
Kurzinger, yeah. He played the cook. And I love this shot because I'm choking her against the ceiling.
And not only that, but I think it's one of the first scenes where you could really see Jason wanted that fucking kill.
Right.
His head was shaking.
And that scene was in the new Scream movie.
massively cut too, as well, right? Like there was apparently a bunch of glass in her.
Oh yeah. There we
of
go.
course.
Look at her.
Of course.
Smash.
Fucking brains, frozen brains.
Look at that. That's fucking amazing. I'm
Mega
sorry.
Jason, or what is it? Ultra Jason. Man, when I was a kid, you know, I'm sure Jason X got a bad rap to adults, but when I was a kid, you couldn't get fucking a better idea than that.
Oh wow.
I was like, you sent Jason to space? Are you kidding me?
Oh, this shot. Oh
Now
man.
this is your number one favorite kill, right?
Yeah. And that was Beekler. You saw that, right?
Yeah.
R.A.
Oh,
I don't like how that looks. It looks phony.
I love the
But-
sound effects on it.
And then ending with,
The boot. Oh,
gotta end with that. Oh,
dude, that's
nobody's ever seen it, but I keep saying that, but I think that's cool.
And so, who made it? Just
My
a-
buddy Ben. He's an editor, and we should give him a plug somehow.
Yeah. Let's. I'll put his name up on screen.
Please
you
do.
know.
And but yeah, he has done some stuff for me before, and I'm going to have him do which I never thought I'd do, like an acting compilation.
Oh, so with dialogue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is not as fun as that to watch. But I forgot about the Beekler thing. He played a character in the movie, and this is how fucked up Adam Green is. He said, "I'm going to have you strangle Beekler with his own intestines." And that's what it was. I mean, it's hard to tell kind of when you watch a movie, that's what it is. But, that's what I love about Adam. He comes up with some fucking crazy shit. Pulling that woman's head apart. You know this story, but maybe other people don't. It was a one-take thing. And I grabbed the actress. I put my hands in her mouth, which is fucking gross anyway.
Oh man, so
Because
you actually had to do
my
that.
hands are disgusting when I'm Victor. I had to put my hands in her mouth and then start to pull, and then the camera does a 360. And during the 360 move is when the edit is made for the prosthetic head, which you really don't see.
The cut at all. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it comes back around and I pull the head apart. And it was a one-time deal because of the budget of the movie. Adam says, "Please, when you shoot this, wait for the camera to come around before you pull it apart. Otherwise it's fucking worthless." And I was like, "Come on, man. I've been doing this a while."
I'm
And-
Jason fucking Voorhees, bro.
But so once the camera landed here and I pulled it apart, that's why it's my favorite kill. I mean, I have a lot of favorite kills, but that's the one.
That's one of the gnarliest I think you've done. I'm trying to think of anything gnarlier. I mean, punching Julius's head off is one of those, but
And hopefully this happens, but I've been talking to VC.
VC, the guy who played Julius, by the way,
VC Dupree played Julius and did the boxing scene.
which he has to be a boxer because he looked good.
I don't think he is.
He knows in
He
the shadow.
pulled it
then.
off, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you remember what he says right before I punch his head off? Trivia. Just trivia.
Oh, motherfucker, man. Can you give me one word and then maybe I could figure out the rest?
You probably can. The first word he says after he's exhausted from trying to fight me, and I grab him by the scruff of the neck, he says, "Take
Your best shot. Fucker.
Motherfucker.
Motherfucker.
Take your best shot, motherfucker.
I was one word off,
Here
goddammit.
you go. Boom. And, I knocked the head off the dummy, and it flew off the roof and landed in a dumpster.
Wow, I love that. So it was a dummy. You physically punched a head off of. It wasn't like a cut and then a head rolling.
Right. It landed in a dumpster, and Rob Hedden, the director, said, we got to shoot that. It was never planned to see the head go in the dumpster and the dumpster slam. That was just because it actually happened.
Yeah, just a serendipitous accident.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing because that's like one of the. It's funny, it's a lighthearted moment. Like, and not only did it land in the dumpster, but the lid closed too.
Right.
Like, all right, see you later.
But the point of bringing that up was that, I'm going from here to Detroit tomorrow for a convention called Astronomicon, which is, friends of mine that do it. And,
The Twisted guys, right?
right, Twisted guys, George, who works with them, Spencer from Ice Nine Kills is involved, and, he and I are pretty good buddies. And so I'm going from here to there, and then next week I go to New Jersey for New Jersey Horror Con, and I've never done it before. And I'm going to do a Part 8 costume photo op. And hopefully this happens. I think it's going to, but VC is going to be there in his fucking tracksuit, and we're going to do a photo op,
That's fucking
which we've
amazing.
never done before.
Wow.
And it's such an iconic scene from the movie that, people that know the movie. Can you imagine a fan being between Jason and Julius? He's ready to box. I'm standing there, and they're like trying to keep us apart.
Trying to break it apart. Yeah.
So I think it's going to happen, but I'm not sure. I hope it does.
You guys should also push for a live boxing match. Celebrity boxing match. Kane Hodder versus VC.
Yeah, VC's a good guy, and he should do more conventions than he does, because I think people know his character so well from that movie, but hopefully it happens.
Yeah, that would be amazing. With conventions, I always do wonder how much the people who are there enjoy being there. So do you enjoy doing these conventions?
I do.
Yeah. Would you say you have a favorite?
I have probably like 3 favorites. Texas Frightmare in Dallas is probably the biggest one I do. Monster Mania was always fantastic in Jersey.
When you say was, it's not around anymore?
No, it is, but politics.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I always loved doing that show. Scarefest in Lexington is one of my favorites.
So wow, all other side of America, not on West Coast.
It's weird. It's hard to figure out why a convention does so well when something else in a bigger city doesn't do as well. But it's just the way it's run. The Scarefest is probably my favorite.
Yeah.
Because we always do a lot of fun things there. RA is always there. R.A. Mihailoff, who played Leatherface. They do bourbon tastings. They do, all kinds of fun events. It's a fun city. And that's where Gun Interactive is based, which is the company I've done the Friday video game for and the Chainsaw video game.
Oh yeah, you did mocap for that.
For both of them. And I just was notified that we're doing some more mocap for the Chainsaw game.
Wow.
Next, let's see, in May.
Wow. So now you've
They
technically.
keep adding content to a game that already is on the market.
Well, that's the best part about video games, especially if
Oh.
you're an actor doing mocap. There's DLC. They're constantly trying to
Exactly.
keep people
That's
playing.
what we're doing, DLC.
So what do you have to do? You have to put on like a suit and walk a certain way or do kills?
I mean, yeah, I obviously in the Friday game, I just played Jason and did everything that they wanted. But the Chainsaw game, I'm Leatherface
Yeah.
and also Grandpa, which people don't know.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, you put on a spandex suit, which is not real scary looking, and, you know, recreate scenes. And I was honored that Gunn, you know, it's one thing for Gunn to say, we'd like you to play Jason in the Friday game. Okay, makes sense. But when they said, we want you to play Leatherface in Chainsaw, I was like, wow. I mean, I stunt doubled R.A. in a few scenes in Chainsaw 3, but I'm not known as that character. And they said, we think you should play Leatherface. And I was like, wow. And I approached it trying to do honor to Gunner, because Gunner was the best Leatherface. No offense to anyone else, but he was the first one. He was a buddy of mine. I have pictures of him and I on my phone. And they said, you know, he's gone, so we'd like you to play the character. And I was like, okay, I'd love to do it. And I tried to emulate his performance instead of trying to do my own thing.
Right.
And, you know, when you try to do, I don't know how well you know that movie, but
Texas Chainsaw
the
Massacre?
first one, yeah.
Very well.
When you try to do that chainsaw dance that Gunner did with a real chainsaw,
Yeah. And
When
how heavy
you're-
is a real chainsaw?
it's fucking heavy. And you try and swing it above your head and do all the shit that he did. Wow.
Yeah.
I was like, he was always a good friend, but I admired his performance more when I tried to duplicate it.
Well, the conditions they were under while filming that movie too
Right.
made it even harder. You know, it was fucking July in Texas.
Right.
Probably the worst time to be in Texas.
I would think, yeah.
Yeah. Now you're carrying around a 50-pound chainsaw, throwing it over your head.
It's so fucking hard to make it look effortless.
I would also imagine it's harder too because the costume and being in full gear has to bring out a little bit more of that character as well.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, like being in spandex, was it a little bit more difficult for you to
Right.
get in the role?
Which is exactly why I asked them for a real chainsaw, because I don't look like Leatherface, but I wanted to be able to recreate everything Leatherface did with real props. And the thing with, I don't know people that, if you know mocap, but you're on a soundstage on a floor that has a grid, and you have a spandex suit on with sensors everywhere.
Like balls.
Right. Little ones. But so it's hard to perform, but what I didn't realize until I did the Friday game was that you could stand on the stage with your spandex and look at a monitor and you're already animated.
Wow.
I did not know that technology was
Even a thing.
right. So I could look at myself on the monitor and move around, and I'm fucking Leatherface. I'm Jason. Instantly.
So that helped probably.
Oh, huge help, because you could see what you liked, how you were moving and stuff. So
Yeah.
that helped a lot. And like I said, we're doing some more DLC in May, and they keep adding to it because I guess they unfortunately somehow lost the license for the Friday game.
Interesting. After the success of the first one, I'd find
I know.
would think that they would want them to keep going.
I don't know, some kind of fucking. Yeah, I don't want to get
dude,
into
no,
it, but I
'cause-
think
'cause-
they got fucked over.
Well,
I
Hollywood
think Gunn
politics-
got fucked over.
Yeah. Yeah. And the politics of Hollywood seems to be Pretty prevalent. I mean, I think the people who make a lot of the decisions who are up top have no fucking idea what anybody wants. I mean, they make these decisions based on, their expertise, but when it gets passed along to us, we fucking hate it. One of the biggest things, and I know this is a bit of a sensitive topic, but personally, I don't know a lot of people who even know of this story. And I think if more people knew, they'd be a lot more pissed off about it. Because to be honest, I had no idea about it until I read your book. You were originally supposed to play Jason in Freddy vs. Jason, and it didn't end up coming to you. You ended up getting the script in your hands, right? Well, I mean, I'll let you tell the story. So how far along did you get with Freddy vs. Jason before you found out, I'm not even fucking doing this movie?
Yeah, so that's a low point in my career. I never assumed I was going to play Jason each successive movie. I hoped, but there was no guarantee.
But after, Jason Goes to Hell, you probably had to have had some sort of idea, like, okay, this is the third movie I'm in. These guys like me.
Right, and I did the Freddy shot, as you know.
Yep.
I wore the Freddy glove and grabbed the mask and kept the glove, by the way.
How different was it from like the actual Freddy glove?
It was built by the same guy.
Wow.
So it was identical. He always built Robert's gloves, and he built it for that movie. And then since they couldn't come to an agreement yet, we did Jason X in the meantime. And then they finally, the two companies came to an agreement, which is amazing to me that it was so difficult. Come on, it's a slam dunk. Freddy versus Jason?
Yeah.
Come on. And, I was finally called in. You know the story, but maybe some people don't. I was called into New Line Cinema to meet with an executive. I probably shouldn't say her name, but I sat in her office, just her and me. She gave me the script and said, we're finally doing this movie. And I was so excited because I wanted to do it for years.
Well, let's take it back for a second. So you manned the glove, pulled Jason's mask down into hell.
Right.
At that point, when you guys went in to go shoot that scene, how much did you guys know about this Freddy versus Jason narrative? Was it just a fun idea as an Easter egg, or did you guys know?
Oh, no. We knew it was going to happen. We thought it would happen next, but it didn't. And it finally did happen. And when, if you're in an office with someone that's in power and they give you the script and say, we're finally doing this movie, wouldn't you think you have the job?
Yes. Yeah.
Even though no contract has been signed, I was given the script and told we're finally doing the movie. So I thought, fantastic. I've been waiting for this for years. And then as the weeks went on, I didn't get much contact from them. And I started worrying because that's Hollywood, man. Once you don't hear anything for a while, you start thinking, uh-oh. And then eventually I was told that they chose someone else.
And then did they give you a reason why?
Not really.
Have you ever tried to think about it?
The only thing I ever heard is they wanted somebody taller. And I was like, man, really? 2 inches taller? Is that really that significant? And, and then I realized they were shooting the movie in Vancouver again, which is where we shot part 8. And that's where Kurzinger lives. And I could only assume that, it was some kind of budget thing. Well, we got a guy right here that could play Jason that's local, so we don't have to give him an apartment and fly him and per diem and all that because he lives there. And someone told me that they represented him as having played the character before. That's what I was told. I'm not saying it was accurate, but that's what I was told because he did the shot getting hit by the cop car in part 8. Technically, he had played Jason in a shot. So it wasn't a lie, but a little bit distorted. He didn't play the character. He did a shot as the character. Mm-hmm. But, and I think the reason they always gave was they wanted somebody taller so that Freddy and Jason were more like this.
How did you feel Kurzinger did?
Okay.
What would you have done differently?
Well, not his fault at all, but I didn't like his wardrobe or the mask.
Is this Freddy verse?
No, that is like a cosplayer or something.
I think it's Freddy verse.
No.
Because in Freddy verse, he had the open jacket.
Right, but he didn't have a mask like that.
Oh, Jesus. Well, breaking news, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't think that was from any of the movies, honestly. I don't. I could be wrong, but...
Yeah. Well, let's hope that it is.
But I just, I didn't care for the look of Jason, which is, again, not Ken's fault. And I've never had a hard, any problem with him because he's offered to play Jason in the biggest movie of all of the Friday movies. What's he going to say? No, that's Kane's part. Of course not. So I never had a problem with him playing the character. It was offered to him. He accepted it as I would have. But, don't offer it to me and then replace me. That's the only thing that still bothers me is that I was told I was doing it. If I was replaced, everybody else has been. Every person that's played Jason has been replaced, except Derek, because he's the most recent. Even Kurzinger was replaced by Derek. So you can't bitch about being replaced, but don't do it after being told you had the job.
But from the fans' perspective, that's just such a stupid move on the studio's part. I mean, to save fucking money and not get, the Jason that the fans wanted. You were the Jason that the fans wanted. And, I'm nothing against Kurzinger, but to be honest, I kind of only learned his name doing research in this. To me, it was just, kind of a Jason. But having known the Jason wearing the costume is Kane Hodder, the guy who played in 7, 8, 9, 10. He's coming back to reprise his role again for Freddy vs. Jason, the one that was set up at the end of Jason Goes to Hell. That's best case scenario.
And even fans, when they first heard that I wasn't doing it, thought it was my choice. For one thing, thought, he doesn't want to do it anymore. He's done it 4 times. Of course, I would never do that. But they also said, we saw it more as Robert versus Kane than Freddy versus Jason. Because, we've both done quite a few films as the characters, and the fans, which felt good to me that they were disappointed. Some people didn't care, which I understand. It's just the 2 characters that they want to see. They don't necessarily care about the actors. But, if I hadn't been told I was doing it, it would not feel as bad.
Really? So
not at all.
So if you would have just saw one day waking up a trailer for Freddy vs. Jason, Robert Englund's in it, but you're not, you wouldn't have given a shit?
No, I would have given a shit, but it wouldn't be as
bothersome.
Right.
Yeah.
But, to tell me I'm doing it and then replace me, that's fucked.
I just hope that, because it's on 12 right now, right?
Right.
Well, 13's coming up.
You got to do a 13th, Friday the 13th.
Oh, they are for sure thinking about it. There's no way that they're just like, yeah, we're going to stop at 12. And if they are, we should fucking make a fan-funded 13th.
It's always going to be kind of a low spot in my career, but...
Well, as long as you know that the fans would have rather had you there, and that the movie is far inferior without both of those names, because it's interesting to hear it that way too, because with you being in it, it wouldn't have just been Freddy versus Jason. It would have been Robert versus Kane, and that's the best part about it.
But Adam was able to bring me another character that I loved, so
Yeah, which
that
was
helped.
Victor Crowley.
That helped take away some of the pain.
Which, man, that sucks to hear that there was pain with that, because I could only imagine, the politics of the industry. I mean, regardless of whether it's music or film, politics ruin everything.
Yeah.
And it's something that I don't think is really controlled by what people want. I think it's more controlled by ego or budgetary expedience or, I think it's mostly just ego, man. I think it's ego. If they knew what the fans wanted, they would have brought you in on that film. But regardless,
Right, but it was still incredibly successful because it was the one people been waiting for.
Are there any rumblings for anything else regarding that?
Regarding Freddy versus Jason?
Well, yeah, because, Freddy wasn't dead at the end of the movie. We thought he was.
Which I always felt bad for Kurzinger in a way, because the very last shot in the movie, the iconic shot of Jason coming out of the lake with Freddy's head and Freddy winking, wasn't even Ken. He got fucked over. That's not Ken Kurzinger in that shot.
Who is it?
Doug Tate.
What is the significance of switching people out like that?
Just convenience. I think, I could be wrong, but it's just my speculation that they had to do a pickup shot. They changed the end of the movie because it wasn't ambiguous enough. You want to look like Jason, so people would say Jason won because he has Freddy's head. But Freddy winked, so it's not over. So they wanted that ambiguous ending, and I think that was totally done at the end, probably in L.A., and Ken lives in Vancouver.
The intention was for Jason to win, and then the last minute they said, let's have Freddy wink at the camera.
I think it was they realized they needed to make it not look obvious who won, so that there could be a debate between the fans.
And a sequel.
Right, possible sequel. So I think they shot that scene and did it without Ken because it was more convenient. Once again, budget reasons, so he kind of got fucked over. He did the whole movie, and then the iconic ending is not even him. That kind of sucks for him, really. Yeah. I would be upset. Wait a minute, what the fuck? I did the whole movie, and now you have somebody else in the costume? Yeah.
It's fucking weird, man.
Yeah, Hollywood is not real loyal.
What do you think it is about Hollywood that makes it so cutthroat?
Money.
Fame, too, I would imagine.
Money. Yeah, they change things to save money, thinking nobody will care. Well, nobody can. They can't tell it's not Ken in that shot. Well, you can't. You're right. But it's kind of a slight towards him.
You could tell it's not Kane, though.
Yeah, well, maybe. But
well, throughout the whole film, I mean, you brought very iconic movements and this energy to Jason. I mean, I think C.J. Graham may have been the first undead Jason because he was in Jason Lives.
Mm-hmm.
And but he wasn't very undead-like. He was kind of like bounty hunter Jason. He's got the buck knife on the thigh, and he's walking really fast. And CJ was a built dude, so
he was walking fast. Yeah.
And he just looked like, kind of like athlete Jason, whereas like your Jason was like rotting in the bottom of a fucking lake for 10 years. His spinal cord is exposed. And now he's fucking pissed off. He's like, all right, I've taken a blade to the throat. People have stabbed me in the forehead with an axe. I'm over this shit, and I am going out to get everybody. And I think you in your films with Jason is what brought that kind of indestructible force to life. Also, a big thing that everybody always wonders about Jason is how the fuck could he be right behind you and appear exactly where you're going? Have you reasoned with that in your head?
People ask me that still to this day. How, if somebody's sprinting ahead of you and you're walking, how do you catch them? And I just always say, I know the shortcuts.
So shortcuts, no teleportation.
Yeah. But, you bring up CJ walking fast. Whenever I see that movie, and especially when I first saw it, because you kind of alluded to this before, it seems like it's sped up.
Yeah, a little bit.
It doesn't look like, I feel like he wasn't walking that fast when they shot it.
Right.
And they sped it up to make it look more believable.
Yeah. Well, a part of Jason Sinister, too, is that he always walked. And if you watch the first 6 films, he ran. Like, he straight up ran in the first few movies.
Right. And, by the time it got to me, I didn't think the character would run anymore.
Yeah.
So I always tried to avoid it, even though it was kind of ridiculous. But, it's funny because I knew Richard Brooker when I first started doing conventions and stuff. He played Jason in Part 3. He and Ted White, because he was a stunt guy, I knew Ted, who was Jason in Part 4. Neither of them cared that they played the character. They're like, it's a job. And I guess it was because it wasn't known or iconic enough back then. And I guess I could see that, but they didn't give a shit until they realized they could make money at conventions, and then they started embracing it more.
Interesting.
And that's by their own admission. Both of them said that. They said, yeah, it was a fucking job. But then later on, when I found out I could make more money signing my name than risking my life, which is accurate, then they're like, oh, okay, yeah, I played Jason. That was fun.
Yeah, well, like even Warrington Gillette is at a lot of conventions nowadays. And he's like, first form Jason, baghead Jason.
In one shot, yeah.
So, okay, how does this work? I'm so confused because he's
so am
credited
I.
for the whole damn role.
Is he?
I think so. When you look up who was the first Jason, it'll just, I think,
Not first, but second.
well, because
First was Ari.
Wait, first was Ari.
Ari Lehman.
He was the sackhead?
No, he was the boy.
Oh.
So he's technically the first.
Yeah.
Even though he didn't have a hockey mask, he came out of the lake and grabbed Adrian.
At the end of the movie, yeah.
Right. So one shot in the first movie, but you can't dispute he was the first Jason,
Right.
even though he did barely anything.
Yeah.
But, he was. And then Steve Dash was really Sackhead in Part 2, but Warrington did a shot.
Why did Warrington get all the... Does Steve Dash do
He's dead.
conventions? Oh, shit.
So that helps
Yeah, Warrington.
Warrington's cause
Like, hey, I was technically the
he's
first.
the only one left from Part 2 that did anything. And then Brooker played the character the whole time in Part 3, Ted White, Part 4, Tom Morga, Part 5, and, CJ. So, but it was, the first 2 were kind of ambiguous. It's like Tony Moran in Halloween.
Who do you give the crown for Michael? Nick or Tony?
Nick.
Nick, yeah.
Tony did one shot like Warrington.
I heard they beef with each other. Does
Yeah.
that happen quite a bit? Do characters who have played the same roles beef with each other?
Well, if one of them played the character in most of the movie and one of them did one shot, but tries to act like he did more, then of course there's going to be a beef.
Yeah, that's interesting. Holy
That's like if
Jason versus Jason.
Kurzinger was trying to say he was Jason in Part 8, which he never has. He said he did a shot, a stunt as Jason, but he never pretends to have played the character.
But the fans don't know the difference. If they're walking up, they're seeing the stanchion with the name on it, and they see Part 8. They're like, "Oh wow, he did Jason Takes Manhattan. I didn't know that." And now he's the guy who, gets the credit for it.
Yeah, but that's one thing I'll say about Ken. He never tries to act like he did more than he did. He played the character in Freddy versus Jason almost the entire time, but then, Doug Tate did that last shot, and he does conventions
Yeah.
because of that.
Interesting.
But, I did every single shot as Jason in Part 7. There's not, Part 8, again, Ken did the car hit and also the coming out of the train scene,
Oh, I do
the
remember
electrocution thing.
There was something that he walked a certain way that you didn't necessarily approve of, right?
Yes. I mean, I don't remember. I think we were under a time crunch and had to have a second unit shoot that scene of him coming off the subway car and getting electrocuted and stuff. And when I saw the movie, I knew he had done the shot because they forced me to say it was fine, which is, not my control. But when he walks off the train, he's swinging his arms, and I fucking hated it. I said, man, you're doubling someone. As a stunt double, you have to try and give the illusion that it's the same actor. So you have to kind of mimic their movements.
But why did you even need a double in that shot? I mean,
I didn't.
yeah,
I didn't, but it was a time crunch. We were getting close to the end of shooting, I think. This is how I remember it. Principal photography, but they needed to do that scene, and we couldn't fit it into the principal, so a second unit shot it. And, the stunt scene was because they didn't want me to get hurt.
But
But that scene was just because of time.
Yeah.
And, the general consensus is nobody's going to know, which is true. Fans don't know that wasn't me.
Well, I possibly chalked it up to it not being you because of the stunt with the electrocution. But then when I think about it, I'm like, what do you really need to do other than, shake on the ground?
Yeah, it wasn't a stunt thing that was the reason he did it. It was more of a time consideration, running out of days of shooting, and adding a day to principal unit is far more expensive than putting a second unit smaller out to shoot one shot. So saves money and I did every shot in Jason Goes to Hell also, even though it wasn't all that much.
You played a cameo on that one too. I loved it.
Yeah.
The security guard.
Calling Jason a pussy.
Yeah. And then getting killed immediately
Yeah,
after.
exactly. And Jason X was all me also. But, Part 8, couple shots were Ken, and, I know he knows how that feels when, I'm sure it bothers him. Maybe not. I don't know. But that he didn't do that main shot that everybody remembers. It had to be frustrating.
That is the one shot everyone remembers. I think the only other thing would be like the cabin on fire and their first kind of face off of the movie.
Right.
But then it's straight to action right after that. I mean, that was just like a blip. But that is what everybody ended on was, oh shit, Freddy's not dead.
Right.
Yeah.
So who won? It's debatable.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, no one won.
Right.
If-
Which is what they wanted.
Yeah.
So that there could be a second one possibly. And so that the fans would debate.
Who do you think wins literally? Like if this showdown happened in real life, Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger at MSG, sold out event.
Well, I don't know if you remember, but Freddy's a bitch. So Jason wins.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Freddy's got the slight edge because he's, I would say, a bit more supernatural in a way, but
Right.
so is Jason at that point. I mean, he's been revived from the dead fucking 20 times.
That's too many times almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of supernatural stuff, you have done ghost hunts in Hollywood for a while, right? What was the group called?
Everywhere.
There was a Hollywood specific group. I think it was called like Hollywood Ghost Hunters.
Yep, that's my group. I formed it with my buddy Rick McCollum, who's a stunt guy that I've worked with on many, many films. He actually, in the first Hatchet movie, there's a scene where I requested, part of my deal with Adam was, give me a scene where I can show some emotion. So I did the crying scene as Victor's father. And because of doing that scene, they had to shoot something with Victor, and that was my buddy Rick as Victor. He's only did that one shot as
Full makeup?
Victor. Huh?
Full makeup, or was this like
Yeah.
a behind shot where he just
No,
had the
full
wig?
makeup. Wow. And he's also in that clip we showed in that reel. When I have the big chainsaw and I'm pulling two guys up in the air, one of them's him. And he doubled Barry Bostwick for me in Pumpkinhead, I think.
Yeah, Pumpkinhead 2.
I think he doubled Barry was in that movie, right? Anyway, I've worked with him for many years, and he was the only other person to play Victor in a shot.
But that's amazing, though, that you essentially just own that character. I mean, for sure. I mean, Victor Crowley is 100% yours. And, we could say subjectively, but I think objectively, Jason Voorhees is also yours. But I find it so fascinating that, like, just to imagine you with all the ghost hunting gear and a dark. Have you guys ever considered recording it and like pitching a pilot?
Have. We Hollywood Ghost Hunters. So that was the reason I brought up Rick's name, is that he and I founded the group because we're both interested in the paranormal world. But we have all of our members are people that do horror films. And I thought it was an interesting group to go ghost hunting of people that are used to creating scary shit, whether you're actors, makeup effects, whatever, and see if we could be swayed into thinking there's ghosts. And I've always been very careful about not exaggerating. If you're on a ghost hunt, and we've done what we call ghost hunts in all of the major locations that people know, Waverly Hills and, all these other locations that are known for being haunted. But I always approach it with a degree of skepticism,
It's always good to do.
because I think so many people, everybody that's into the paranormal wants to have a story to tell. So they will almost inadvertently exaggerate something that happens so they have a story. They don't even mean to sometimes, but so I'm very careful to not go overboard. Something strange happens, it could be anything. Doesn't have to be paranormal.
Yeah.
But I'm still interested enough to keep exploring.
Right.
And the only time I've ever had something decent, in my opinion, happen was I did a couple of years ago, I did an investigation at Sansom, hospital or something. And whenever I do a paranormal thing, the only way to be uncomfortable, in my opinion, is to go somewhere by yourself. So I'll always go to a location, even with our group, and I'll say, where is the worst feeling place? And I'll usually ask the people that own it or have most experience, where are you least comfortable in this location? They'll always have a place, and that's where I go by myself with cameras, recording equipment and stuff, and do an investigation alone. Because when you have somebody with you, it's not nearly as uncomfortable as if something happens and you're alone. So I always like to do that and have the cameras and stuff. And at Sansom, and there's a documentary about it. You can find it on various platforms. I go to a place and I have a obelisk, or I think that's what it's called, where it says random things picked up by the energy or whatever. It just says words.
It's like one of those spirit boxes where it's like, and then randomly it's like, it
Says
sounds like
words.
Like
Yeah.
an AM radio, it kind of sounds like,
Yeah.
right?
And I'm in the worst location, which is kind of weird. And I'm talking to the camera, because if you're by yourself, you have nobody to talk to. So you have to just talk to the camera so it's not boring. And I was talking and I got lightheaded and kind of lost my balance for a second and kind of stumbled. And right then that spirit box said pushed.
Oof.
So I thought, that's interesting. You know, it's not definitive, but it's not bad.
That's pretty damn.
Right when I lost my balance, it said pushed.
Wow.
So
And so was that like the most you've ever experienced?
for me, yes. There's
Interesting.
other things that have happened, but it could have been something natural
Right.
that
And
caused it.
if the paranormal, if ghosts are real, you know, assuming that they are, how do you think they exist? What are the qualifiers for someone to die and become a ghost?
God damn, I never went into it that deeply. I don't know. I don't know if there is. You know, it's just, I don't even know if it's real, but I'm interested enough to keep trying.
Do you think we go anywhere when our time here is done? You know, like if there's other dimensions that we just can't see.
I mean, I guess it's certainly a possibility because we don't know, but, you know, I'm not sure I subscribe to it that much.
I like to. I'm a hopeful. I'd rather be a fucking ghost than buried 6 feet under with,
Right. I would too.
yeah.
But, you know, I would love to be able to think that I could still have contact with my sons, for instance, 25 years from now, when they're still around and I'm not and my wife is not. It's kind of calming to think that maybe you could still do it. But at the same time, if you do from a different dimension contact your relatives, does that fuck them up? Or is it comforting?
Right.
You know? I don't know. So I don't know if it's, I mean, it's interesting to think about, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. You always hear different things, like, you know, there are these, you know, other dimensions that we could pass on to once our life is wrapped, and the whole paranormal thing, I don't necessarily know if I subscribe to it either, because I've gone out of my way seeking things and I've never gotten it. You talk to the experts and they say, well, that's why you haven't, is because you're looking for it too hard.
But that seems like
Yeah, there's always
kind of
something
an
paradoxical.
easy excuse.
Right.
Like, you know, not to get too deeply involved, but with religion, I always hesitate to thank God for good things that happen, because I don't blame God for bad things that happen. So
Right.
it's a little convenient for me to, and anything good, it's God's will. But anything bad, well, that's not God's fault.
And it's sacrilegious if you say that it is.
Right. It doesn't seem reasonable to me. So I, you know, always I'm very careful to just not do that, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a weird tangent, wasn't it?
No, not at all. It was perfect. I feel the same way when I go off on little tangents. I'm like, I hope that came across right.
So Felissa and Tiffany are texting me about doing our podcast.
So that is amazing. So you also do a podcast with Felissa Rose and
Tiffany Shepis.
Tiffany Shep. So how do you like doing a podcast? You enjoy it?
With them, I do.
Yeah.
Because myself and Felissa are fucking undependable craziness, and Shepis keeps it, or Tiffany keeps it going.
Right.
She does the prep, and we're just there having fun.
Just bullshitting.
And I don't know if you know Felissa's history, why
Sleepaway.
she's known,
Yeah.
Sleepaway Camp. She just in Cincinnati, for the first time, did a photo op. And the people that know Sleepaway Camp know her character. And she did a photo op
His character.
with a penis. Yeah. With fans. And she would open up the robe and she had a big dick hanging. It was so fun. I have a picture on my phone.
She probably got a kick out of it. She probably
Oh,
loved
she
it.
did. And people loved it.
Having a dick for a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sleepaway Camp was like a fucking fever dream when I think back on one of the first times I watched it. I was like, what is going on? Jesus, that thing's huge. I mean, it's small.
You know how sometimes when you sit on the toilet to take a shit and your dick hits the water?
I do, wink, wink. Totally relatable feeling.
And come on, man. You don't think there's a Candy Crush commercial on TV where everybody thinks it's me, and there's a still frame on my phone where I think it looks like me, but it's not.
And so people are hitting you up basically saying,
When did you do this? And I said, it's not me. I don't know if it's AI generated or something, or it's a guy that looks just like me.
right.
You have a doppelganger, do you think? Somebody that looks like you?
You know, I've been told a couple of names, but I hate saying them out loud because people think I'm just fucking stroking my own cock with it.
Who?
I've been told that I've looked like Joey from Friends a couple times. I was told that I looked like Bender from The Breakfast Club, and who was the other popular? Mac Miller. I get Mac Miller a lot. Actually, I went to a Drake concert. Drake and J. Cole came to Vegas in like 2012, and we were sitting in the front row, and some girl looks over and she goes, "Are you Mac Miller?" And at this point, I've had a couple of beers, and I said, yes.
Yes, I am. Would you like to blow me?
Dude, she stood up and took a picture with me. And I fucking stood there taking a picture with her. And it's just the thought of her going back home, posting that online, and everyone going, "That's not fucking Mac Miller."
Oh, God. And
Yeah.
mine is DDP.
Diamond Dallas Page. You guys worked together on Devil's Rejects.
We did, and that's when we realized we'd both been mistaken for each other before. Look at a picture of him.
Diamond Dallas Page.
We do look very similar, and we both. I've seen people see me and do the diamond cutter thing, and he said people have thought he was me.
Wow.
Yeah, that's nice. There, that one looks a little more.
Especially with the stance. That's the cane stance right there. Crossed arms.
Yeah.
Diamond Dallas Page. Dude, so working on fucking The Devil's Rejects.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, you worked with Priscilla Barnes on that, and you worked with her in the Geen movie.
Right.
And man, we had Bill on a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about how amazing of a stunt coordinator you were, because there was the scene he needed to do where he's taking the guys out to go dig up the guns. And when one of the guys, I think it was the older one, I forgot what his name was. Might have been the younger one with the long hair.
Lou Temple and
I believe it was Lou Temple.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Bill was supposed to kick him either in the stomach or in the nuts pretty hard. And they said that you pretty much came up with it on the spot. Like that wasn't planned. It wasn't in the script. And you were just like, okay, I got the perfect thing. And he was able to really put his foot into it.
yeah, it's kind of a simple trick to protect someone's crotch from being kicked in the nuts, and we just did it, and it worked out
It
very
can't just
well.
be a cup, right?
Huh?
It can't just be a cup,
No,
right?
because that does not work.
Yeah, that shit hurts even with a
Yeah.
cup.
Yeah. So it's a strap. It's hard to explain, but you put a loop around each foot of the actor being kicked, and it goes up into their pants, and then only that long,
Oh, okay.
so that you can kick someone in the crotch, but it stops before the crotch. But you can kick with full speed because it never hits them. But you can't tell on camera that it didn't go quite as far. Wow. It's a very simple rig, and it just works really well. Anyway, it was, when I got the job to coordinate Devil's Rejects, I was so excited because I'm a big fan of Rob Zombie and music and movies, but I was very excited to get that job because, man, that's Rob Zombie, man.
Yeah. I think he's the Tarantino of horror films. Like when you think about dialogue and when you think about in House of a Thousand Corpses, there's the Dracula episode of Munsters playing on the TV. In Devil's Rejects, I even think when Bill's, you're one of those pussy cowboys, aren't you? And he's bringing up real bands. It's that breaks the barrier of like movie land and real land, and Tarantino and Rob do that so well. And then along with the dialogue as well.
Right.
That'd be awesome. So are there any directors that you still want to work with till this day?
Wow, that's a good question. I mean, I know Eli Roth pretty well, and we've really never worked together, but I would love to do something with him. I'd love to work with Rob again,
Yeah.
to be honest, just because he's so knowledgeable about classic horror. It was fun just to sit on the set and talk to him about stuff. Mm-hmm. He's always loved all these figures like Dracula, Frankenstein, The Mummy, and he's a fan of horror in general, and he liked my work in the Friday movies. So it would be great to work with him again. Of course, I'm spacing on his name too, but
Newer guy?
huh?
Is he a newer guy or?
A comedy guy.
Ooh.
I would love to do more comedy.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
cool.
It's crazy, but one of my earlier films was a movie called Hard Bodies. And it was
Yeah.
a beach comedy, and I was one of the geeks of the beach that bothered the girls and stuff. And it was so much fun. I had an afro, I had a porn stash, I wore capris,
Yeah.
pants, and black shoes on the beach, bothering all the girls. And it was just fun to do comedy. I mean, I'll always love doing horror and violent shit, but it's fun to do comedic roles.
Dude, one of the funniest fucking stories in your book, first off, you're a big advocate of fart humor, which I find
I am.
amazing.
I think farting is hilarious.
It is. It's one of the funniest things anybody could do is fart, especially on accident.
Oh, that's the best.
Dude, if you didn't intend to fart, that shit is fucking funny.
Speaking of which, before you go on, I have a film I put together. I shot it, edited it, and everything called Candid Farts. And it's my buddy Steve from high school again. I don't know if you ever remember Leslie Nielsen had a device that he would put in his hand, and he thought farting was hilarious. And it's a thing you squeeze. It's not electronic. You squeeze it, and it makes the most realistic fart sound. And Steve was an expert at manipulating this thing. He'd put his hand in his pocket, and now it's not only a real sound, but it's muffled. And it's coming from close to the asshole. Yeah. So
it's coming from in the pants.
right. And I filmed him in so many different scenarios farting, and catching people's reaction out in public. It's so much fun. I got to get you a copy of it.
Yeah, please do. You said
Candid
Spencer
Farce.
sold it for a while, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the Leslie Nielsen story is hilarious because I remember you were mentioning that he would make the fart noise, but he wouldn't acknowledge that he made the fart noise. So people thought that it was just this poor old man who couldn't
Right.
control himself.
And Steve would be so good at it, he would say stuff like somebody farting. He knew they were looking at him. I'm sorry, I have a medical problem.
Yeah.
And he kept a straight face all the time. He never broke character, and it's just so much fun to
Yeah.
watch how people react to hearing somebody fart. So anyway, going back to your line of questioning about farting.
No, I was going to mention the Leslie Nielsen story and how I thought it was hilarious that the funniest part about it was that he would make the fart noise but not let anybody know that he was doing it, and that's like a comedic genius. That is someone who lives and thrives in comedy. You are so confident that you don't care that all these people think that you're just uncontrollably farting because
Right.
you find it funny. And he wasn't doing it for you guys, right? He was just doing it by himself.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was doing it for himself, really, just because he knew he was fucking with people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we put together that film.
Yeah, that's incredible. Have you considered maybe like trying your hand at like writing an entire feature and going at it and, putting something out?
No, I'm not a writer. Although, I don't think I've ever talked about this on any kind of show, but I had my knee replaced in January, okay? And full replacement, and they keep you overnight in the hospital. And I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning after the surgery in the hospital bed, and I was looking around. I was like, I'm wearing a fucking diaper. When did that happen? I was wearing underwear when I went into surgery. I come out and I wake up hours later, or, I'm aware hours later, and I'm wearing a diaper.
No underwear underneath?
No.
Oh my God.
And I started, for some reason, I guess it was still the drugs that I was put out with, what's the term? The not sedative, but the whatever they
Anesthesia?
use to put you out. What?
Anesthesia?
Yeah, anesthesia, because I had a block so that it would help with the pain, and then the general anesthesia. And because I was still under the influence of that, I started thinking about all this crazy shit, and I started writing a stand-up routine, which I've never considered doing because I'm not a comedian, but I started thinking of all this weird shit, and I started putting it in my phone. It's still in my phone.
Wow.
As a stand-up routine. Okay, so who put the diaper on me? And then I started thinking that, how funny would it be if the nurse came in and I had the diaper with some chocolate in it and I was eating it. She caught me, and I thought the way she looked at me would be like the way that so-and-so looked at me when I was a kid, and I was all this tangent shit that I started dreaming up and coming up with all this crazy stuff, and I wrote it as a stand-up routine thinking it was hilarious. I was laughing to myself. I sat there in the hospital bed for 2 hours thinking about shit and writing it down, thinking, I'm going to do this stand-up routine one day at a convention.
Yeah.
And then, next day I was looking at it and saying, not all that funny, but it was funny when I was high as hell. But,
Yeah, that's how it goes.
but yeah, I'm not a writer. I wish I could say I was, but there's no way I could ever write a script. I mean, I guess you could say I wrote my book, but I didn't. Mike Aloisi wrote my book. I just dictated my story. So I told my story, but I didn't write it.
There's a book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, and she goes over that exact what you just said. I'm not a writer. I don't write. And it's one of the best books I've ever read because she teaches you this thing called morning pages, where you morning pages. And so you wake up in the morning, you don't look at your phone. I think she said if you want to make a cup of coffee, that's fine. But literally right when you wake up, you sit down and you write 3 pages, 10 minutes a page. You go one by one.
Of what?
Anything, whatever's on your mind. And the beautiful part is that it's in the morning. So technically nothing's on your mind. So what's coming off of your hand is shit that's kind of deep inside you. You haven't looked at your phone. You're not influenced by your emails. You haven't talked to anybody yet. You haven't gotten into an argument. And you'll find yourself kind of pouring shit out that you thought about, months ago. And it's odd.
Wow,
It's
interesting.
And by doing it every day, by doing it every morning, it gives you the ability to, and she says, don't go through them until you're finished with the book. I've been doing them for years, but I actually didn't even look at a single page of mine since I started. And then a couple of months ago, I got really curious because, you get to these points where you're like, am I even fucking getting better at any of this shit? And I go back and I read my first journal and I read my last one, and it really is just about sitting down and doing it. You have to have patience. With writing, you have to have patience.
But you also have to have a creative mind, obviously. But
all of our minds are creative. It's how in tune to it are you. The source is there. It's all for us to grab from. The inspiration that Buechler gets or Tarantino gets or Roth gets, it's all accumulated from the same world that you and I both experience. It's just how they notice things are different.
Mm.
And when you really tune into how you notice things, it's very easy to not do that. It's so easy to go through life and just kind of go through the routine. But really when you stop and ask why, and when you write why, after a while, you're going to have days where there's nothing to say.
Right.
And you'll be shocked at what you just do by default. You're giving yourself advice that you're just like, holy shit, it's like something else is taking control of your hand.
Interesting.
It's weird. And it's fun. And with how much films you've been in and how much you've done, I'd think that like you would know the ingredients of a good horror film. Like you of anybody would probably know exactly what to do to scare the shit out of somebody.
Yeah, I guess that's true. When I guess it kind of follows the way I was thinking of things while I was laying in that bed, because I'm just freshly out of surgery, so I have to piss in a bottle, which is not my favorite thing. But you're laying in your hospital bed and you have to piss in a fucking bottle and put it on the shelf next to you. So as I'm pissing in the bottle during that night, I look up and there's a fucking security camera bulb right above my bed. And I said, what the fuck is that? It seems like an invasion of privacy.
Right.
And so the nurse came in and I said, what is that security camera for? And he said, well, that's so that our base can watch all the patients at, from one location and keep an eye on everybody. I'm like, but I'm pissing in a bottle.
Right.
And she goes, yeah, but the camera's not on very often. It's just a check once in a while. She goes, it's not on unless the blue light is on. And I look up and say, like it is now. and it was when I was pissing in the bottle. Yeah. So I went off on all that fucking stuff too. But, it was so funny to me at the time. And
yeah,
it's really not that great.
Does being in hospitals fuck with you?
Yes.
I would imagine fucking, I wouldn't, if I were you, I would be like, all right, my knee's screwed for life. I'm not going back in that place.
Not with the knee, because that was a short time spent, but with the burns, 5.5 months in the hospital straight.
And it should have been 6 weeks, right?
I don't know. It should have been shorter for sure, but I've talked about this, but it is humiliating and really makes you consider what you have when I was 22 when I got burned. And for months, sounds like a joke, but it's not. I couldn't wipe my own ass. And that is fucking humiliating and humbling when you realize you have to have somebody else wipe your ass. You know they're not doing it properly because it's disgusting. Wipe somebody else's ass? And it just makes you appreciate life more when you can't even do those simple things.
Yeah.
And so even though it was tremendously painful and humbling and humiliating, it made me appreciate other things more, once I got out of the hospital. So
Does that, you always hear it takes these big life-changing moments for people to really know how precious and valuable life is. Does that like wear off? Like after a while, do you?
not for me, no.
That's great.
Yeah, once you come to appreciate things that you take for granted before that, I'm far more compassionate to other people's situations than I would have been had I not been burned. So, it makes you a lot more sympathetic to, even though you might think something is minor, like that somebody's going through, once you go through some shit like that, you never do that anymore. You always realize that, you know what, they're going through some shit and, they have a tough life. Like, I have very good success with, not success, but talking to people that are severely autistic. Somehow I get very, I guess, good success, if you want to say it that way, with talking to people that aren't typically even verbal sometimes, or very uncomfortable in situations, and somehow I'm able to break through. And that's the best part of this job or this situation I'm in, is when you can have a meaningful conversation with somebody that doesn't normally get to enjoy that, because people are not fucking patient enough. I met a guy in Michigan a couple months ago that had hopefully this isn't, embarrassing for the guy, but he had a situation where his tongue is huge and it never stays in his mouth. It hangs out. And he was a big fan, and I guarantee you that most people that would try and talk to him couldn't do it, because he could barely keep it in his mouth. I got the impression that he would put it in his mouth just to try and make it easier for me, because I was talking to him, but then it would come out again and he would have to talk with his tongue hanging out. And can you imagine living like that? Everybody's going to fucking make fun of you. Difficult life. And I just sat there and talked to him.
Mm-hmm.
He was very articulate. It was hard to understand him because his tongue was in the way, but he was smart, and I enjoyed talking to him. And I could see people looking, thinking, is this guy trying to be funny, sticking his tongue out or whatever? What a way to fucking have to live. How do you not show compassion for somebody that has such a difficult life? I got scars everywhere, but that's nothing really compared to what a lot of people have to live through. So I just think that I understand people's situations way more than I would have if I hadn't gone through what I did. So there is a positive angle to it because of that. I know that I fucking hate to admit it, but I probably would have thought it was funny to see that guy.
You mentioned that in your book too, and I thought it was amazing you took accountability about that. You said, there was a time where, I would probably look at somebody with my scars and snicker with my friends about it. And
Right.
now I am one of those guys.
Right.
And the fact that you take accountability for that, because, it's true. That's, people kind of just do that because it's hard to have that kind of sympathy and put yourself in somebody else's shoes.
Because you haven't been there.
Right.
So you almost find it humorous. And when I talk about being at a pool or something with my shirt off and I can see everybody doing that, they think I don't notice they're staring at my scars, but of course I do. And I don't blame them because it looks different. But, once you are in that position, you feel far more compassionate to people that have other situations.
Yeah.
Strange limbs or missing limbs, I don't know. It certainly made me a better person. Mm-hmm. So if there's anything good that came out of it, it would be that.
Yeah, I mean, and sharing your story as well with everybody for people like that to be able to identify with. But I mean, outside of the story, and I think outside of the incident, I mean, horror kind of incites that in people. For some reason, it's where the black sheep go. It's for the ones who didn't really fit in, the ones who did get picked on, and in some weird way, that's why we root for the killers.
All right.
Because we kind of almost identify with them more than the camp counselors.
Right. And Bruce Campbell said it on my documentary, and I've always said the exact same thing, that, we've been doing this a long time, and from my experience, and Bruce said the same thing, the people that play the most horrible characters in films are usually the nice people, actors. And the fucking people you want to love that are comedians are the fucking assholes so often. Why would that be, I wonder,
Yeah, I don't get it.
But,
Yeah, paradoxical. You'd think that would be backwards.
yeah. You want to love the comedians. They make you laugh. Mm-hmm. These other guys do horrible things to people and make you scared, but they're the nice ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've worked with some comedians that I did not fucking like at all.
Yeah.
Nothing but trouble.
Right. But, I mean,
that's a movie I did with several well-known comedians, and one of them in there was such a prick to everybody on the set constantly. I wanted to smash him in his face, but I'm, working doing stunts, so.
I honestly think that it's a little bit harder to do that now. The infamous Christian Bale freak out on set of Dark Knight, I think, or maybe it was one of the Terminator movies.
I tell you, he's treated me worse than that jerk Christian Bale did.
I want you off the fucking set, you prick!
Sorry.
No, don't just be sorry. Think for one fucking second.
I dropped a peanut M&M and it rolled over here.
He was freaking out on one of the lighting guys, and someone recorded it. And I mean, it was like, damn near abusive. And so with, social media and how even cancel culture in some regard, I think people are a little bit more cautious about, fucking being an asshole.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Because of social media, but also I've seen things happen where an actor looks like an asshole because of something that was recorded, but you didn't see what happened before that. You just saw that part.
Yeah, exactly.
So it
context
kind
is
of
everything.
unfair. Yeah, oh, for sure. It's a little unfair that you don't know the whole story. You're judging by what you saw. Ah, what a prick.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? You didn't see what happened right before that.
Yeah.
And, I've been accused and blamed for things that shouldn't have been, never happened.
But so after all that you've gone through, how do you fear anything? You know, after seeing what you've seen and, you know, going through what you've gone through, how do you fear something after that?
God damn, you come up with some questions that I've never been asked, which I appreciate.
That's the highlight right there. That's what we're clipping.
No, it's true, though. Everybody always asks the same things, which I understand because they haven't heard the answers necessarily. But recently, I have come to, I guess, fear something that I never anticipated. You know, like a friend of mine that graduated with Steve and I in high school has suddenly developed an intense claustrophobia, which he never had before. He barely can get on a plane now and stuff, and he's like, I don't know where it came from, but he couldn't even sit in my backseat of my car in LA once because he felt like he was closed in. So, point being that I have started fearing something that I never thought I would. And another story that I've never told anybody. Maybe my wife probably knows, but the biggest fear I have in life is not remembering people. I guess you could say the Alzheimer's type situation. That, to me, is the most terrifying thing I could think of, is to be in the position where I don't remember my own children, for instance. Fuck, man. Again, if you're a religious person and you believe that everything's controlled by somebody, why is that necessary?
Yeah.
It's fucking cruel.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that scares me.
Forgetting things.
Yeah.
I mean,
getting to the point where you don't recognize your own family and friends.
God damn.
And you're still alive. That's fucking terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only thing that we could hold on to positively is, like, if you're in that position, you also wouldn't remember that you remembered, you know, so at least you just totally didn't know.
Right.
But the hindsight
That's true.
of that,
They probably don't realize
that they once knew
that they're in such a terrible situation because they don't remember how it was.
And you can't even really control that, right? Your brain, it just kind of does its own thing sometimes.
Yeah.
That's what, you know, and we talk about, you know, religion and forces being out there. I don't know if there is a God. I don't know if there's something that controls what's around us. But I am fascinated with a potential power of our brain that we don't necessarily know exists because of the circumstances that we're around.
We certainly don't know everything about the mind.
Yeah.
And, you know, last year I was on a plane with my wife getting ready to go to London because she's never been to London, so we wanted to go spend a few days, and then she was coming home and I was going on to a convention in Sheffield. And we're on the plane, and it's a red-eye flight out of Salt Lake, and I had a seizure. Never had any kind of situation like that in my whole life, no kind of seizures or anything like that. And I had a major seizure and obviously couldn't make the flight. We hadn't left the gate yet, so I was taken off and taken to the hospital, and now I'm on seizure medication, which is fucking makes you feel even
Jesus.
less of a vital person. I had a heart attack and now a seizure, and I haven't had anything since, and it's been almost a year. But, you know, it's like out of the blue, man. And I've had all the tests done on my brain, MRI, CAT scan, 3-hour EEG, nothing. No apparent cause. So it seems like, from my neurologist's point of view, seems like it was a one-off occurrence.
Which makes it scarier, because like this shit could just happen for nothing.
It does, but then it's also somewhat reassuring to know there's no fucking obviously problem in my brain that needs to be repaired.
Yeah, that's true.
But like you're saying, it's like now I've had the seizure out of the blue and a heart attack out of the blue. And I've always taken care of myself. I've always had a good diet and always exercised. And I still have a heart attack, 2 years ago. And that's all genetics for sure, because my dad had 3 of them. But so there's only so much you can do with your body to counteract genetics. And I don't remember anybody in my family ever having any kind of seizure situation. But, fuck, man, it's just like, that's when you start worrying about your memory and, have some memory issues and stuff. But that's why the memory loss just terrifies me.
Yeah, maybe it's time to
hang myself.
I was going to say stop doing so many crazy.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, no. Maybe it's time to hang up the gloves of doing so many fucking stunts, man. I mean,
well, I have kind of. I'm not really doing the stunts anymore.
Yeah,
but I think
I'm sure there's a piece of you that wants to. You still got that dog in you.
I miss it. Yeah, I do. But again, having the acting stuff fills a lot of that void.
Yeah,
because I'm still working. A lot of people my age, that especially stunt people, are not only not working anymore, but they're dead from complications. And I just lost a buddy of mine that I did so many movies with. Conrad Palmisano just died, and he was a coordinator that I worked with for years on big movies. And, he just died recently. And, man, it's just like you get to a certain age and everybody around you is dying and you're having medical issues. It fucking makes you think.
Yeah, and you always hear how fast time goes by. And, I'm 30 and I don't really feel like it's been that fast. I kind of feel like it's been 30 years. And so I'm kind of just waiting for that moment where it speeds up and I'm like, oh shit.
That'll be a while.
Yeah.
That won't happen until you're, in my opinion, 60.
Yeah.
Once you hit 60, everything seems to fucking speed up and change.
Damn.
I don't know why that number. So you got a ways, man.
Yeah, I've got double my life so far.
When are you 31?
October 14th, 2024.
Right. So my oldest son is going to be 30 in May.
Yeah, Labor Day weekend, right? Or wait,
no. His birthday
September.
Is that's why you thought that.
Yeah.
His birthday is Memorial Day weekend. But we wanted to celebrate later. So, and Reed, my youngest, his birthday is May 14th. Susan, my wife, is May 13th.
Oh, a bunch of Mays.
So you can imagine she went into labor with Reed on her birthday.
Yeah.
Hey, happy birthday. You can have a baby now.
It's the best
He wasn't
gift.
born till the next day, but, they're all May. Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing, man. I mean, what an iconic career and what a success story. I mean, all the stuff that you're mentioning you're going through now, I mean, I'm hoping that this is, obviously temporary. You take good care of yourself. Like I said, you don't look like you're in your 60s. I know 69-year-olds who look 97. So you look great for your age, man. You're healthy. You're in shape, and I think that we are honestly so lucky to have you. The fact that you've gone through what you've gone through just for the entertainment of other people is admirable. I mean, you were mentioning your stunt buddy that just died, and, you're going through these health complications, getting your knees replaced. And I mean, yeah, you're doing it because you love it, but really you're doing it for us. You've been doing it for us for all this time.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that sentiment. It's hard to agree with it because then it sounds a little pompous, but I loved my career, and I've been through some terrible times, but had some amazing things happen in my career that I never would have had happen without this business. So
yeah,
I'll always love it. I'll always appreciate everything that I've been able to do, and feel very fortunate.
Well, we thank you. We thank you. And, with that, man, I really appreciate you coming into the crypt today. It means so fucking much to me that you agreed to come in here. And I hope that this isn't the last time.
Yeah, it won't be.
Awesome.
I enjoy so much when somebody's so prepared and stuff. People wing it, but you're professional and do a great job at what you're doing, and I appreciate you inviting me on.
Well, thank you, and it means so much coming from you. And ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, Kane Hodder doesn't use social media very much, which I'll try and talk him out of that.
Out of ignorance, that's all. I don't hate it. I'm not good at it.
Yeah. But, I mean, Instagram's easy. All you do is you point your camera at what you're doing on your stories.
It's your real Instagram, which
you've
not
got
the case.
Like 3. Which one is the technical one?
I don't remember.
There's Kane Hodder 1, Kane Hodder Kills, Kane Hodder 666. I'm like, I don't even know which Kane there is.
Is there a Kane Hodder 666?
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe that. I know that the only one that Bill Moseley follows is Kane Hodder Kills, and I figured if he's following it, that's probably Kane's.
You know what? I got to check. I'm not sure it is, but I think it is.
But I think if you used a lot more social media, I mean, I'm sure everybody at home would love to be able to interact, but you do Cameo. You're popping up at conventions all over the United States. You're actually leaving Vegas tomorrow to go do one. So there's no shortage of Kane appearances, ladies and gentlemen. So again, man, I really do appreciate you coming in today. Thanks so much, man.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure, really.
Yes. And the signature piece. See you guys next time.